Yeah, you guys hear the good news? Christ has resurrected. Juniper is back. Comedy is legal once again on Twitter. I was going to talk about that, but then 5 minutes ago, she got unbanned. So, there you go. Welcome back. Comedy is legal. Jokes are legal. We're back. We're Barack. Thanks, Mr. Slim. They're unbanned? Yeah, as of like 5 minutes ago. I just saw the legal video. We're at H. What about irony? Well, if Juniper is unbanned, irony must also be legal. Thanks, guys. Can you talk about it briefly anyway? I will in a bit. You see how Turkey is going full tilt in their genocide of northeastern Syria? Now what's happening? Turkey, Syria. I will never respect this country by spelling its name properly. Turkey steps up, strikes on militants as conflict escalates in Syria. Cool, cool. The military neutralized, quote unquote, Kurdish militants in northern Syria overnight in retaliation for a rocket attack on a Turkish base. Turkey typically uses the term neutralize to mean kill. Yes, because they're evil, because they're movie villains. The rocket attack on the base by the Syrian Kurdish YPG militia killed one Turkish police officer and wounded 7 officers and soldiers in northwest Syria, Dabik area. And wait, why is a Turkish police officer in Syria? You mean like military police? Why would a regular civilian police officer be on a military base in Syria's Dabik area? Do they mean MP? I don't know. They're using cops too, if I recall correctly. That's never a good sign. Occupation forces, they have part of northern Syria. Yeah, I didn't think they had civilian police officers there. Like, we occupied part of Iraq, and as I understand it, we didn't, like, ship over American police officers. Like, we're getting some random guys from New Jersey or whatever, like, yeah, they say we need to, we're heading down over to, Baghdad, gonna just, hold down the place a little. Like, what? Yeah, they use MP, military police. Um, they attacked a hospital among other infrastructure. Yeah. The remnants of the COVID-19 hospital in Direk Rojava following. Jesus, it's just fucking dust. Yeah, Turkey is evil. No, instead we shipped off future American police officers. Yes, that's true. That's true. Seems like Turkey's really leaning into the Ottoman Empire aspirations here. That's what every fucking authoritarian leader does. They just trace their ancestry back to a point in time where they had more territory, and they're like, yeah, that's us, actually. I'm so Ottoman Empire. Like, at least the Ottoman Empire was only 100 years ago. Imagine doing that for, like, Rome. So fucking pathetic. Yeah, man, like, I'm so that. Like, 2,000 years ago. Last thing, U.S. also shot down a Turkish drone, but only after they bugged our guys too much while bombing civilians. We should shoot down more Turkish drones, I feel. U.S. military shot down a Turkish drone over Hasaka today after the drone came too close to U.S. troops. The drone was bombing targets near U.S. positions? Then yeah, of course they're going to shoot it down. Turkey is the one that's deciding to bomb civilian positions while there are U.S. troops in northern Syria. What do you, like, yeah, no shit they're going to shoot it down. You think U.S. soldiers are just going to, like, wait to see if Turkey's going to bomb them? Because Turkey's already missile striked a base that had U.S. soldiers in it before. Like, yeah, of course, obviously. Oh my god, I wish I could get them out of NATO so badly. Oh my god, I want Turkey out of NATO so badly. You guys have no idea. Oh, I fucking hate them. I hate the Turkish government. I want them out of NATO so badly. Oh my god. I want them out of NATO. Like, I want them to pull the rug out from under Turkey. So they like bomb a Rojavan base that has US soldiers, and we Article 5 them like 2 minutes after they get kicked out of NATO. I want Erdogan to learn that they've been removed from NATO at the same time they learn about the Article 5. Turkey out, Armenia in. True. Oh, thank you, Yulia. I appreciate it very much. Yeah. This is why people hate NATO. I mean, unironically, Turkey is probably like the most visible bad actor of NATO right now, right? Like, what else even comes close, you know? All the wretched shit they've been doing down there. Germany here, I want them out of the European Union as well. Yeah. Why is Turkey even in NATO at this point? They serve as a similarly antagonistic imperial force within West Asia as Russia does North. The only reason that Turkey is in NATO is because they hold an extremely powerful strategic position. Sorry, they're not in the EU. I think they meant like I don't want them in the EU. Anyway, they serve an extremely important strategic position. You know, Black Sea, the whole thing. Um, and also, they carried our nukes during the Cold War, right? Like that's what led to the Cuban Missile Crisis. The Cuban Missile Crisis happened because Soviets wanted to put nukes in Cuba, which is right offshore of the U.S., because we had nukes in Turkey, which is right next to Russia. I mean, those weren't the only nukes we had next to Russia, but you know, Russia's a big country. It's easy to have nukes next to Russia. Half of the places in the world that the U.S. could have put nukes would have been near Russia or the Soviet Union or whatever. Um, I still hate them. Turkey won't be able to join EU for simplest of reasons. Territorial dispute with Greece and shit show of economy. Well, to be fair, Greece is in the EU, despite both of those things being true for them. Territorial dispute with Turkey and shit show of an economy. So, you know, yeah. Excuse me. I doubt this would happen, but it'd be funny as shit as if it did. When Charlie Kirk debated the quote trans Marxists, he apparently paid them 3K to do it. I will unconditionally debate why communism would be better for America without taking a single dime and entirely on Kirk's terms, location, time rules, etc. Kirk v. Haas now. There's no way that Kirk would ever accept these terms, but it would be incredibly funny. This would be top tier content right here. This would be phenomenal content. The nice thing about Haas is that he's so loaded up with pseudo fascist esoteric mysticism that none of his arguments could actually come across as an attack against or in favor of communism. Like, he would start doing his big thing. You know what I'm talking about when I say he would do his thing. And it would just turn into this jumble, this impenetrable Gordian's knot of rhetoric that Charlie Kirk would have to hack through with a machete, except he couldn't because he's completely unprepared for that kind of yeah, the Haas special, exactly. Fuck, that'd be funny. Haas would do a better job than her. Oh, for sure, yeah. What's your opinion on Cuba and its current relation with the U.S.? I mean, Cuba's a dictatorship. It's not as much of a dictatorship as a lot of other dictatorships. Like, there is a real civil society in Cuba. It's not like a total fucking authoritarian nightmare over there. And they've done pretty well for themselves considering some pretty like substantial hampering their position, their embargo, blah blah. But like obviously, any real socialist country would be a true democracy. You can't be a proletarian state if the proletariat don't control the state. So you know, um, I don't know. I mean, I'm sort of like I'm like enthusiastic and optimistic about the future of Cuba as a real like positive show for what poorer countries can do to fend for themselves and develop. But I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's all ups and downs. Cuba's complicated, you know. Explain what U.S. conservatives gained by maintaining the embargo. The votes of conservative Cubans in Florida. Literally, that's it. The only reason people talk about maintaining the embargo is because there are a large number of Cuban expats who live in Florida who fucking hate Cuba. A lot of them are like really wealthy Cubans and the descendants thereof who left because of like Batista being overthrown by Castro, and they're still mad about that. And a lot of them are just like Cubans who have fucking drank the Kool Aid or whatever. But they're like, if you drop the embargo, they would be like, why are you legitimizing this awful regime that took my grandparents' slaves from them, blah, blah. I'm simplifying it a bit, but like, that is a big part of it. So yeah. There is a lot of Kool-Aid. What does drink the Kool-Aid mean? I never learned. Isn't it a reference to the Jonestown massacre, where like a cult had a bunch of people commit suicide by drinking like fruit punch that had poison in it? The Jim Jones cult. Yeah. How many people? There's like 30 people who died or something. How many people died? Yeah, cyanide laced punch. How many people died? Oh, 900. Never mind. That's slightly more than 30. My apologies. No wonder they call it a massacre. Yeah. It wasn't Kool-Aid. Well, I mean, whatever. They called themselves socialists. Everyone calls themselves socialists, you know? Jones proposed revolutionary suicide by way of ingesting a powdered drink mix made from Flavor Aid, later misidentified as Kool-Aid, that was lethally laced with cyanide and other drugs. Well, the group had engaged in many dry runs using unpoisoned drink. What does that mean? How do you dry? The dry run is just having fruit punch. What? How do? What kind of preparation do you need for that? You don't like fuck up your drinking technique like in fucking Airplane. You don't want to like splash it on your face or something. He did that and told them it was poison, but it wasn't. Oh, like actually, like this is not a drill kind of shit. Like, and then they didn't die, and he was like, haha, we're still alive. That's weird. Don't do this, okay? This is weird. Guards armed with guns and crossbows had been ordered to shoot those who fled the Jonestown's pavilion as Jones lobbied for suicide. That's weird. That's not good. And a third of them were minors? This was a rape cult, right? All cults are rape cults. The only reason cults exist is so that like charismatic guys can rape children. That's literally it. Like that is like if you learn about cults, like 9 times out of 10, it's just this guy was decently charismatic and he wanted to rape children, and like that's just how you do that. You know, you just make a cult. It's always a fucking rape cult. Speaking of cults, have you seen right now the right is really mad at Hillary Clinton because she said Trump supporters need to be programming? Dude, I'm mad at Hillary Clinton for saying that. Can she shut the fuck up? Please? Can Hillary Clinton please shut up and stop? Nobody likes her. Nobody likes her. I already had this pulled up. Is she wrong? She should shut up. It doesn't matter if she's right or not. Go away. Nobody likes her.
So, Steve, you just mentioned the re-election. There is, of course, a presidential election playing out. And the woman who was defeated by former President Donald Trump in 2016 is speaking out today. But before we get to what she just said, let's go into the Wayback Machine.
Just play the clip.
And we have to defeat him. And we but something needs to happen.
And how do you do that?
At this point, I think, sadly, he will still likely be the nominee, and we have to defeat him. And we have to defeat those who are the election deniers, as we did in 2020 and 2022. And we have to, just be smarter about how we are trying to empower the right people inside the Republican Party.
Well, the thing is, and you
No, play the part of the clip you guys are getting mad over. Was that earlier? Did I skip that part? Oh, I did. Whatever.
programming. Yeah. Watch this.
So many of those extremists, those MAGA extremists, take their...
I'm legit confused as shit. No. First of all, listen, okay? Politics is largely about optics, obviously. If you're the most unlikable bitch in the universe, you shouldn't say shit, okay? Hillary Clinton should just not talk, all right? She was like one of the only candidates who could have lost to Donald Trump, all right? Seriously. Like... She was not defeated by some giant wave of far-right, like, popularity or whatever. Donald Trump didn't get more votes than he was expected to. Hillary Clinton got less, all right? So she should shut up. Second of all, she already has a reputation as some kind of like conniving spider queen who wants to like control the entire country and brainwash everyone. She already like gives the image of like an ultra deep state crone in the way that Biden doesn't. Biden doesn't give that image at all. Biden has been in politics basically since like the Stone Age. And despite that, because he's this like bumbling old grandpa, it's really difficult to think of him as conniving, whereas it's incredibly easy to think of Hillary Clinton as conniving. Yeah, she's an optics nuke.
Marching orders from Donald Trump, who has no credibility left by any measure. He's only in it for himself. He's now defending himself in civil actions and criminal actions. And when do they break with him? You know, because at some point, you know, maybe there needs to be a formal deprogramming of the cult members, but something needs to happen. And how do you—
Why would you say that? Why would you, if you're already like optics poison, you know, you're barely integrated aesthetically into the Biden White House because the Biden, like the Biden administration is aware of the fact that you're poison and doesn't want to touch you. And then like, what thing could you say to like fully reinforce the narrative that you're some kind of deep state crone? Formal deprogramming. Guys, she's not right on this. What does she mean, formal deprogramming? Do you seriously think the way out of this is having some kind of federal program where conservatives go in and watch like Agent Orange style a bunch of clips of Donald Trump lying to like no. It's a ludicrous thing to say. All right, well, chat's going to agree facetiously because it's mimetically. Yeah, okay, well, whatever. No, obviously not. People right now, like conservatives, are indeed fucking lunatics, but the way out of this is not just like this. This is the worst possible direction to go. This is the worst thing to say. It's the worst like impression to give. I genuinely, I can't believe it. Like, can you imagine, like, imagine how we would interpret it if Donald Trump had said something like this. Like, all these people who believe in woke ideology, and he says there needs to be a formal deprogramming. How would you interpret that if he had said something like that? Like, in what way would you, like, what, given that you have a negative impression of what he has to say, and you are not charitably disposed towards him, would you not interpret that as, like, a red sirens flashing alarm bell kind of acknowledgement of the desire to build camps and put us away? Like, see, like, come on. Ridiculous. It's incredible to me that she doesn't understand how bad this comes off. Yeah, it validates the claims of the crazies on the right. It is completely ineffectual. It does nothing to move people over to the left. Instead, it gives people reasons to believe they need to move over to the right. Like, just For anyone who thinks it's sexist, even Kamala does better. It's not a sexist. First of all, Hillary Clinton is just really not popular. Like, obviously, a lot of that has to do with sexism, but let's be real here. A lot of it is just she's a very unlikable person. Like, come on. For two, nobody should say this. Biden shouldn't say it. Kamala Harris shouldn't say it. But Hillary Clinton especially shouldn't say it. Like, double especially she. Why do the Democrats still have her around? Well, they can't off her. I mean, she's not really a part of the Biden White House, you know? Like, the Biden administration has reasonably not incorporated her into their messaging or their administration, which is good of them. But she still exists. I mean, she can still go on talk shows and stuff.
Do you do that? At this point, I think, sadly, he will still likely be the nominee, and we have
right,
to...
and then we saw from this point forward. Yeah. Okay, Fox and Friends, talk about it.
And we know about the ABC Washington Post poll, which they're embarrassed by, where he's up by 12. He pulled ahead in Pennsylvania, too. And the problem is the best sales tool for Donald Trump is the policies of Joe Biden.
Yeah.
And people just go, well, I don't, that guy in the White House is a little volatile, but my life was a lot better when he was in charge.
But do you see the press right there? Do you wonder why?
Oh, they're not going to talk about it? I assume they were going to, like, fearmonger about it.
Would you go about deprogramming the country?
So
how did that work out for you last time? So Hillary Clinton also said one will wreck our democracy, one violates the law on a regular basis, one appeals to the worst in our country's psyche.
That's true. Okay, the Fox and Friends people are too stupid to even jump on this. Whatever. Yeah, they're not even doing the whole, like, socialist re-education camp shit or whatever. Clinton is not taken seriously enough anymore to be fearmongered. That's true to an extent. That's slightly true. But, I mean, the right will fearmonger off whatever they want to. You know? I think Kamala would say this. Well, I don't like Kamala Harris either. WAP Goblin's looking for leaks now. I have to say, when I purge the subreddit, and by the way, there are plans underway, one of the rules that we're coming out with is stop giving attention to clout seekers. Stop with the constant fucking posts of all of the lunatics who literally like wake up every day in a rat-filled fucking studio apartment that their parents pay for, and their entire life and purpose is dedicated to like all the bad empanada posts. Did you not get like the past 50 trillion times that he's a lunatic and a bad person? And now it's like, oh well, this, and then it's always so self-righteous too. The Reddit post will be like, he's really lost it this time. No, he hasn't. He's been the same for years. For as long as I've been making content, he's been the same. Why are you still saying that? Like, that shit's getting insta-banned. Because all you're doing is giving them the attention they want. Like, why? That's the battle they're fighting. Guys, if you want to lower yourself to their level, where your battles, your wins and losses are these petty internet Twitter beefs or whatever, then fuck off. Like, seriously, don't do it in my community. Bring that shit elsewhere. Bring that shit to some other hypothetical large streaming community that thrives entirely on drama and not on politics, okay? Hypothetically. Don't fester in mine, all right? Holy shit. Like one of the easy rules is like if you're doing a post, okay, it's got to be like related to the stream, or related to the content of the stream, or like something like that, you know, something immediately pertinent. I can't stand the obsession with like regurgitating these same lines over and over. Yeah, drama's bad, he says after $1,000 dono. You sent the $1,000 dono, Ben. Not me. You sent that, for one. And I'm not going to turn that down. But with regards to that dono and the content thereof, there are politically beneficial reasons to tear into Jank and Hassan. Obviously, drama is, like, to an extent part of this, but I hope everyone watching understands that there's a pretty big difference between posting, like, here's, like, image comp number 738 of this lunatic on Twitter. Look at how bad they are. This is bad for the left. And, like, criticizing the positions and behavior of people who are not only my size, but larger than me, to the effect of sort of procuring some kind of lesson or learning something. There's definitely a meaningful difference there. You have to be constructive with it, right? Otherwise, you turn into one of those... like, it's, you know, those people whose entire, like, their whole, like, political thing is, like, these people are bad for the left. And it's like, I see this a lot with, like, trans meds, where, like, theoretically, their advocacy should be about trans positivity, but in practice, it's all just saying, xenogenders are bad for trans people. Non-binary people are bad for trans people. Trans people who don't medically transition are bad for trans... And it's like, fuck, dude. Like, I would respect trans meds a lot more if there were trans meds who would just throw their arms up and go, man, I don't know. I kind of think that, like, the surgery is a big part of it. Like, I don't know, whatever. Like, we're all in this together. But none of them are like that. Like, see, zero of them are like that, you know? I'd still disagree with them, but, like, at least their heads pointed in the right direction on that one. But, like, that's never how it actually works out. Yeah. I've been liking your drip lately. Need a necklace or rings. Complete the process of becoming a mob boss. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I wish rings weren't such a pain in the ass. You know, just like having them clank on your fingers all the time is like a pain in the ass. So like Brianna Wu? No. Brianna Wu has said stuff that I strongly disagree with, and you know, you can imagine that to whatever extent you like. But Brianna Wu, I don't know if you know this, actually just facilitated like a big PV meetup. Clearly does a lot of stuff that's actually beneficial. The idea that Brianna Wu's like entire like overriding political impact is purely like transmed bickering is it's just not true. Don't go looking for excuses to dislike people, right? Like if you dislike a thing that somebody has done or said, engage with that and that specifically. But when you start generalizing, it's like what Contra said, right? It's the generalization and the essentialization, where you have issue with something someone has done, and rather than just engage with that thing specifically, it has to be pulled out into these broader tendencies, where now you're attacking the tendencies, and the tendencies may or may not like vaguely correspond to specific things that have been done, but not always. And then you're arguing on like the difference between a generalized accusation and a specific one, and then it's like, okay, well, what are we even talking about at this point? It just, I'm telling you, it's gonna be the big pants arc, okay? It's gonna be the arc of big pants, all right? Because the circular firing squad shit, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, man. What's the fine line between criticizing someone and versus practically not bringing drama? I feel like I'm pretty good about this. Normally, when I criticize other people on the left, I usually try to do it from this, like, I think this is really fucking dumb, but I still think their videos are good kind of thing. Maybe not always. I mean, it really depends on the person, right? I guess it's just a matter of, like, how warranted it is. Because some people you can just tear into, and it's warranted because they're just bad. And the determination as to whether or not a person fits in that category is always going to be, like, kind of up to a personal decision, you know? Vosh, you're a lightning rod for drama. What? Yeah, from other people. When do I start that shit? Dude, I like wake up every day. It's like some person is mad over this or that. Genuinely, almost every time there's some kind of disagreement between me and another community, it's the other person who's initiated it, right? Like Contra, randomly, just out of nowhere, the Cat Black stuff, the this, it's like every time, you know. We have to be strong. How much of the hate towards you is legitimate, or is it mostly just scripting? It's mostly legitimate. I mean, a lot of people just do the essentialization thing, right? No, thank you, Kowalski. Not anymore, Quoteth. Literally yesterday you started it. With who, Jank? Nice, Somnu. Have you seen the big Destiny breakdown of your attacks on his community? No, of course I haven't. But, like, who cares? Dude, are we on 2.5 years now of, like, mono-directional whining? Like, yeah, obviously. Like, I do find it particularly funny that after a VidCon panel where the main thing that Destiny wanted to contribute, much to the detriment of the broader conversation, you know, apropos of nothing, was, isn't the left bad because the left will virtue signal and nitpick and, like, tear apart one another and not work together on critical issues? And then he, like, storms back to his stream and he's like, I refuse to work in this environment anymore. I can't believe this. And then does like an hour of attack. Like, it's been going on for years, folks. It's not going to change. Just volatile, you know? If the two of you are working together for PV, wouldn't it be better for the two of you to get along? The whole point of progressive victory, an organization, is that you can just send people over to do the canvassing. And the point of this is that not everyone who's sending the people has to get along. That's literally the design. That's the explicit purpose of the organization. That's what I advocate for it on the basis of. If the precondition for being able to contribute was always like everyone involved has to get along, then it wouldn't work and it misses the point of coalition building. Also, he could, like, not be a freak if he wanted to, you know? Is Destiny angry you drank his water? That was my water! I brought 2 water. Vosh Juniper is suspended again? Wait, again? Like, again? No! How'd she get banned then unbanned then banned again? What's going on back there? God damn it, comedy's illegal again. Supposedly Destiny was saying you were kind of hijacking his polling/canvassing efforts in Wisconsin. He's saying that because he's a drama queen. I'm sorry, that just doesn't tie to reality. He'll say it for, like, it's completely disconnected from any rational assessment of what actually happened. I think that one of the things that I've actually been pretty consistent about is congratulating him for the work that he's done canvassing. Even, like, despite, like, the last time I saw a clip of Destiny on my stream and, like, reacted to it was him saying he wanted me dead. And in spite the, like, fervent, irrational, hysterical hatred from his side of things, I've always been like, well, the canvassing's good, right? And then, like, but that's not enough. Like, there's always whining. There's always I'm being wronged. There's always, like, in spite of all of this, like, I'm the victim, blah, 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 whining. And, you know, the only objective of the whining is to get me to pay more attention to it. It's always like, well, if you want to debunk these ridiculous claims, then why don't you spend 8 hours reacting to this 1 hour of him talking? Like, nah. Yeah, like a jilted ex-lover, but it's been years. Years. Pay attention, pay attention. It's funny, the only reason Juniper's tweet worked. I want Juniper back. Like, now. Wait. What about her backup account? It was unbanned? No, it got rebanned. What the fuck? Aren't backup accounts illegal on Twitter, Vosh? I mean, technically, but people do it all the time, so. Yeah, she has risen. What'd she get banned for? Okay, so Elon Musk removed the metadata, like the title and the subtitle, that is shown if you link an article. So now if you link an article, it's just like an image, which looks really dumb. And as a consequence of that, everyone was like, new evidence found in Elon Musk pedophilia case, something she did as well. And it got like 100K likes, and she got banned for it. I assume she got banned for that. I don't know what else it would have been for, But like the idea, like Elon Musk is currently being sued for lying and saying that some like left journalist was a neo-Nazi or whatever. And the tweet that he made that's getting him sued over it is still up. Libs of TikTok constantly makes posts that leads to death and bomb threats against doctors and schools, and all those tweets remain up. And then an innocent little joke. Not even a journalist, just a random guy. Oh, just a random guy. Just a random guy. He defends some young Jewish guy, calling him a neo-Nazi who lived 3 states away. It ruined his life. The lawyer who took out Alex Jones is defending him. Nice. Yeah, and that's still up, Oh, by the way, you want to know why? You want to know the actual reason why he got rid of the metadata associated with links? It's this. We know why now. Twitter is serving users with a new ad format that can't be blocked or reported, and they're not even disclosed as ads. Here's an ad format. See? This seems unbelievable, but it happens in Dubai every day. And then apparently they're also going to be removing the engagement underneath a tweet, so they're not going to show likes, comments, or retweets. They're only going to show views. That's not legal in the slightest. No, to my understanding, it is not legal. You have to disclose that an ad is an ad. So yeah, Twitter is just going to be full of this from now on. You can't block it. You can't remove it. It's just like, cool, now this gets to be interspersed. Every third tweet you look at gets to be this. Or this. If you suffer from ringing ears, you're going to love this recent breakthrough. And it's all going to be like absolute bottom of the barrel like posts as well, because the only people who are paying for ads on Twitter are going to be like, is that fucking baby oil? That says baby oil. Don't put baby oil in your ears to cure tinnitus. I don't think that works. I don't know for sure that doesn't work, but I don't think that works. Kill the snail in your ear. Yeah. Baby oil is usually used to help swimmers here. I don't think it helps with tinnitus. Yeah, well, anyway, in case you were wondering why Elon removed the metadata from links and also seems to want to remove the likes, comments, and retweets on under a post, it's purely so that Twitter can be like 50% this in a desperate effort to make back some money. The evaluation of Twitter has gone from like 44 billion to 8 billion or some shit like that. Like it's tanked in terms of you know, profit and market viability. And yeah. Oh, I'm sure, DM. Wouldn't these types of ads just resemble bots, the thing he claims to want to get rid of so badly? Yeah, well, he obviously doesn't care about bots. There was a big report that was done a while ago that showed, it basically guaranteed that a significant portion of Elon Musk followers, like half of them, were bots. Accounts that have been made recently that had like random garbage tag names that had like no engagement on Twitter other than following or liking Elon Musk. And I don't know why, like why on earth that wouldn't be bots, you know? The SEC is forcing him to testify. When? Failed to appear for testimony on September 15th. Did not comply with subpoena. Uh-huh. Oh. They're not forcing him to testify. They're suing him to force to. Oh, okay. I assumed that by forced to testify, you meant a subpoena, which is how you force someone to testify, not suing because he didn't comply with the previous subpoena. Yeah. I assumed you meant subpoena, not court order. Jesus Christ. Yeah, no wonder he doesn't want to talk to the SEC. I wonder when like the EU is going to drop. Is this because of the unmarked ads? This is like 1,000 things. He's done so many things. It's related to how Elon got the money to purchase Twitter. After being sued by the SEC, Musk says he wants U.S. regulators to be punished. Mm-hmm. Agency has thousands of new documents. Various part hundreds produced by. Documents to what effect? Twitter was under a consent decree that they weren't allowed to add or change features without external review, but under him they did so a dozen times. That makes sense. I recently told this to a friend, but I absolutely think if Elon bought Twitter 1 year earlier, he would have suppressed leftists in Brazil and Lula would have lost the election. Capitalism is tyrannical. Oh, assuming that he hasn't been ousted by that point, you guys can expect that Twitter is going to be a major player in like disinfo peddling. Like Saudi Arabia is going to buy for $2 1 trillion ads that will appear indistinguishably alongside regular tweets, which are like all completely fake testimonials about how Biden personally like shot their dog or something. Like they've abolished their election misinformation team. Elon Musk is desperate for any kind of affirmation from the right and has played into them like as much as possible. Yeah, I saw this as well. That apparently Elon Musk's entire like game plan for Twitter has been eerily following what seems to have been a post created by a neo-Nazi. I don't know whether or not he actually saw it himself. There's just a lot that lines up. You know, there's just a lot of stuff. He did. The Majority Report did a video on it yesterday. He did. It was sent directly to him. It was sent directly to him. Oh yeah, text messages to Musk revealed in the court filings last spring. Neat. I just don't know that he'd destroy his personal wealth to achieve that. I mean, I think it's also important to know that Elon Musk genuinely is just a stupid person. He's just low IQ. Like, legitimately, he is just not, he's incredibly impressionable. And it seems like he can be swayed by basically anyone. It legitimately does seem like major decisions at Twitter are being done in response to random tweet replies. Like Ian Miles Chong will say just some inane horse shit in a reply, and Elon will go like, "Oh, of course," and then just do that. You know, it's almost impossible to overestimate the extent to which Elon's direct involvement in basically any project is a negative one. He got ousted from PayPal because he insisted on calling it like X.com. You know, this has been his pet project for a long time. Um, it's impossible to substantiate, but there have been multiple reports. By reports, I mean anecdotes, of course, of people saying like, yeah, so at Tesla and SpaceX and shit, like your job as Elon Musk's handler is to keep him from making decisions, you know? Like you like try to keep him from making direct decisions as much as possible, distract him with jingling keys or whatever. What is it with everything being X? Because the letter X is like a stupid boomer's idea of like neo-future cyberpunk aesthetic. Like if you're like 55 or whatever, it's like it's again, it's like jangling keys, you know, his obsession with small, petty, minor aesthetic flourishes. That's the level his brain operates on. Because X is like edgy, it's like future. Yeah. It's cool. Twitter just fired half its election integrity team. CEO Linda Yaccarino recently said that Twitter was going to expand the team that had just gutted. Man, can you imagine a cushier job than Linda Yaccarino? Everyone's like, oh man, her job must be tough because she has no power and Elon keeps doing the opposite of what she says they're going to do. But she has like no accountability, right? She can just say anything and she has a very legitimate excuse for Twitter making bad decisions because she can shrug and go like, I don't fucking have any power. I am purely here to give the false impression of professionalism in an environment where there is none. She just sits there and collects money. Comes amidst other changes to the platform that removed the option for users to report disinformation and other misleading info to the company. Classic. Isn't he trying to make a LinkedIn thing on Twitter? I mean, he wants Twitter to be the everything app, but it's not going to happen. Like, it's not real. It's not going to happen. You know? They could be legally shut down for this, right? My understanding, and I'm not sure on the details, but my understanding is that Twitter has already done a bunch of stuff that breaks the law. Like in the European Union, already multiple flagrant stated violations of their laws with regards to internet safety, regulation, privacy. And even in America, like running advertisements without announcing them as such, like this, like also unlawful, you know? So it's really just a matter of time until the hammer gets brought down. And this stuff does take time, but I really hope it happens before the election. I really, really hope that Twitter gets like crippled before the election because otherwise Twitter is going to be like the most aggressive sort of delivery mechanism for misinformation like ever seen in human history. You know fully well that Elon's day job is just going to be him looking at comment replies from neo-Nazis saying like oh, actually, in order to defeat the bots, you should ban like these 76 left-leaning journalist accounts. And also, you know, you should like deregulate this and also this and that and the other. And he'll be like, of course. And then he'll just change that or just randomly start banning people, you know? Interesting. I mean, they've already warned him. Twitter was found to have the highest ratio of disinformation posts of all large social media platforms. Not surprising. Facebook was second worst offender. Can you believe Elon is so bad that in a single year, he managed to make Twitter worse for disinfo than Facebook? Than Facebook! Remarkable. Genuinely remarkable. Facebook has like no moderation. Yeah, but Twitter has something worse than no moderation. Twitter has a person with complete power over the platform actively promoting all the worst information. Like, Facebook is a wasteland, sure, but Twitter isn't a wasteland. It's a dictatorship, and the dictator likes misinformation. Elon will spend like a significant portion of his day, every day, liking or replying to or promoting 40 or 50 far-right accounts that are just lying. Looking into it. Hey, have you looked into this? He was doing this with like white nationalist German propaganda just the other day while promoting the AfD, you know? It's beyond, it's worse than having no moderation. The EU is particularly concerned about continued Russian propaganda on social media before key elections in Slovakia on Sunday and in Poland on 15th of October. Jesus Vosh? Yeah, that was the whole point of this. It only takes one oligarch to shift everything. Wait, Elon promoted the AfD, oh boy. Yeah. Yeah, they did. Seriously? Yes! Musk shares post calling for victory of far-right alternative for Germany party. He did so while fear-mongering over migrants entering Italy and Germany through the Mediterranean. Let's hope the AfD wins the elections to stop this European suicide. This is, by the way, open Nazi rhetoric. The idea of letting in non-white immigrants being a form of suicide is just explicitly Nazi rhetoric, indistinguishable because it is identical. There's no ambiguity or dog whistle. It's just what Nazis say. Wait, what website is this? It says at the top. I mean, I see that. It's a Jewish news site. I was just wondering what its disposition is. Whatever. Haaretz is pretty progressive. Okay, just curious. Something that's also been somewhat overlooked by everyone talking about Twitter. Linda Yaccarino's disastrous interview this week. The platform has lost millions of daily active users since Elon Musk acquired the company. Really? I haven't actually seen the so-called disastrous interview.
Please welcome Linda Yaccarino.
Would you ever consider quitting Twitter? I mean, probably not me personally because I'm an influencer or whatever. I don't know. But, I mean, maybe past a point. I don't know. I'd have to think about it. There's no social media site that's like Twitter. Would I have to get TikTok? Speaking at Vox Media's Code 2023 tech conference earlier this week, ex-CEO, I keep seeing it and saying it, Twitter CEO Linda Yaccarino, I have to dead name. Shared the company currently has 225 million daily active users, a decline in tens of millions, or 11.6% of users from just before Musk acquired the company. God damn. So that's a loss of about 20 million daily active users. That's huge. It sounds like you said ex-CEO as in she was fired. Yeah, it's almost like having a company be named after a letter is actually really fucking stupid. Okay, cut this segment. Let me take a look at this a little bit, okay? Hi. Okay.
Worth of questions, but I want to make sure.
Response to Yo Rob. We can't watch all of this, mostly because I don't want to. Let me skip ahead. Is engagement on X/Twitter declining?
I want to talk to you about the business and the issues of engagement, because I see a lot of data as a reporter at CNBC, and Apptopia, which tracks app usage, says the actual time
I've
spent.
drastically reduced my use of Twitter. I used to have a lot of fun on the site and find good stuff to talk about, but it's just a trash fire now. It is, like, objectively a worse place to spend time now. Even if you enjoy, like, bickering and engagement and what have you, I think the main thing that killed Twitter, at least for a while, because it looks like they've kind of rolled it back a little bit, it was blue check marks being given priority in every thread. It basically meant that anytime you were looking at a thread that wasn't just posted by a close friend with a small number of followers, it was guaranteed that at the top of every single thread would be a bunch of like bot like 4IQ, like inhuman blue check responses, you know, that all sound like they came from a clipboard of maybe 5 or 6 permutations, not like what was most popular or whatever. Then there's the read limits, the DM limits. There's the fact that like far right bullshit is more popular than ever. You know, it's gotten worse in like every conceivable way. The fact that you can't just see quote tweets immediately now, you have to click view engagement, then click on it. Like it's just worse in like every single way, you know?
On Twitter did get a post-Elon bump after that acquisition, but has tracked down all year since then. A new report out from Apptopia just this month says app downloads have sunk to new lows. It's in 96th place. And when it comes to usage, X is now 25th in active users, behind Telegram and even Samsung Clock.
Holy shit, it's behind Telegram? Wow. Holy shit. I don't know anything about Samsung. I don't know if it's like a dick-sucking app or whatever.
So how can we reconcile what Musk has said about engagement, the numbers you just cited, with all of these different data points here?
Well, you know, with over 540 million global users, I'd love to
Not daily active users, just global users, which could mean presumably that you've stopped using Twitter back in 2014 and haven't picked it up since.
sift through, you know, the data points that you picked out.
And they're really just tracks of app downloads
Yeah.
and engagement.
Yeah. But when you look at the length of time spent, the engagement on X right now, the key metrics are trending very, very positively. So if we want to talk about all the initiatives that have been put in place, like was covered in the previous interview about all the brand safety and content moderation tools that exist now, within my first 100 days at the company, that didn't exist for the 8 years prior, formerly known as Twitter. I think those are the type of things we should be focusing on in terms of progress that has been made. Because in a just short 100 days-ish that I've been at the company, what had to happen was for me to, you know, kind of get in, look under the hood. And when I realized and I looked at, because it's still a lot of learning, I mean, come on, it's 100 days. There's a lot of learning that's still going to go on, but the velocity of change, the scope of the ambition at X really does not exist anywhere else. Forget the other platforms. At any other company likely on earth. There is no analog for the book that is being written right now. So if you look at infrastructure.
So yeah, so I think it's pretty obvious from the way she talked, because this is all like corpo speak, technobabble. None of this means anything. Like, she knows fully well that things are going under, and I like, her job basically is just to sit there and be a suit, right? Like, while Elon is chewing on wires back, you know, back in the offices. Wait, context from this interview, she doesn't use Twitter. I did see this where it seems like she showed her phone to the audience, and it seems like she doesn't have Twitter on the front page of her phone. I mean, you have the alarm, the calendar, FaceTime messages. This is presumably the front app page of the phone, and Twitter's not on it, which is very funny. I mean, his Signal's right here. You know, Facebook's right there. Insta's right there. Extremely funny.
Changes. Over 100 products shipped since acquisition. Brand safety and content moderation tools that didn't exist. Advertiser products that did not exist that are now wrapped up in brand safety. Third-party verification partners that did not exist. The company that was...
This is boring.
And I want to get some of these stats. So you mentioned your...
It's been a day, so I brought my
You're welcome to...
I was supposed to put an X on it, but I was watching the interview, and I didn't have time.
Okay, so one question I have is, what are the daily active users that you have? Because that is the metric that Twitter was using before Elon Musk came over. And you mentioned the Sarah Eisen interview. What are your daily active users? And then also, you told Sarah you were nearing profitability. How close are you?
Yeah, well, that's so exciting. I'll get back to your first question.
shot.
But what's so exciting is that from an operating cash flow perspective, we're just about break even. So the kind of other emotion.
No fucking shot. They've lost a huge portion of their ad revenue that they have not reclaimed since. And the maximum possible amount of money they could be making through blue check marks is nowhere near enough to make up the shortfall. And Twitter was barely on that cusp before Elon took it over. There is no way.
That was painted in the previous talk.
Yeah, they're being sued over non-payment for rent, aren't they? Hold on. It's happened twice. Twitter faces lawsuit over unpaid office fees again. I don't know. Yeah, but Saudi investment banking them, breaking them even, Vosh. Yeah, if they are breaking even, it is probably because they are getting, like, outside cash flow.
Feel pretty good about where we are. And when I did the other talk that you said was in August, it was too soon. I think it was about 5 or 6 weeks in. I couldn't have eyes on even the rest of third quarter, let alone fourth quarter. So now that I have immersed myself in the business and we have a good set of eyes on what is predictable and what's coming, is that it looks like in early 24 we'll be turning a profit. So that's exciting. I want to get back to another stat about 75%.
Isn't this kind of foreign influence the exact reason the government tries to stay on top of these kinds of things? Yeah, I think it's so much of it is like that. I think that recently in one of his, I saw this in a Legal Eagle video, that recently Donald Trump was defending the fraud that he had engaged in by overvaluing his properties, by saying that he could find a guy in Saudi Arabia who would buy his properties at any price, which is just a flagrant admission of foreign collusion, to be like, well, there are like Saudi, like, you know, princes who will essentially give me free money for nothing. So, maybe I wasn't doing fraud when I said this property is worth 15 trillion, you know. We'll get to that.
I think he said 60% of advertisers had left the platform or
something. Well, that's what Elon Musk said.
No, he said 60% of advertising revenue. He didn't say advertisers. But again, another point of distinction when you're talking about months and months old information. So 90% of the top 100 advertisers have returned to the platform. In the last...
So what about the percentage of revenue? Because that's obviously what matters. Not the number of advertisers, but the percent revenue as made up by those advertisers. What have they gotten to?
12 weeks alone, about 1,500 have returned. So whether it is a small business or big brands, right, like AT&T, Visa, Nissan, all returning. Why are they returning? They are...
She's not going to say, oh, dude, they're getting their ads back at way lower prices, aren't they? Twitter's evaluation price has gone down significantly. They left due to like instability of the platform, and now they're coming back being like, yeah, we'll take our ads back on your platform for like 1/4 the price you were selling them at before.
Are returning because of the power and significance of the platform.
So how much
the
do they pay
place that X has in this world.
So
Why?
do you have a stat on daily active users?
Yeah, I'm going to.
No, why wouldn't you press her on the amount they're being made? Why would you not? That's clearly what she's trying to get around. That's like so obviously the stat she doesn't want to talk about. Dude, really? Twitter ad numbers plummet. Visa bought just $10 in ads the last 12 weeks, according to report. Okay, well, that explains it. Twitter is essentially like, hey, us bleeding advertisers looks really bad. Can we just, for $10, we'll let you advertise on our platform, just so we can say that Visa has come back to advertising on Twitter. Is this real? This feels like a joke. $10? This is a joke. This is a joke number. Visa bought $10 worth of advertising over the past 12 weeks, a 99.99% decline compared to the pre-Musk days. Yeah, so in case you're wondering why she's stressing that the advertisers have returned and not how much ad revenue has come back. Fact check for Media Matters. Is this too funny to be true? Is this too funny to be true? Oh no, it's agreeing with it. Okay, good. The majority of Twitter's top 100 advertisers pre-Musk have spent at least 90% less on ads in the past 12 weeks than they did in the 12 weeks before Musk took over. It's actually possible that it's like their total ad revenue has gotten worse than the initial estimate, than 60% of a loss. Like, it's possible that right now they're down to like they're down to like a 70% loss, like 30% of the ad revenue they were getting before. I mean, because she's not being transparent with the... Reuters reported that X's monthly US ad revenue has declined at least 55% year over year each month. Nice. Incredible.
Probably 200, 250, something like that.
So the stat when
We need to cut you an ad for Twitter. Yeah, I guess apparently for like $5, I can become a baron on Twitter. Yeah, I can be like one of the fucking advertising Pumbas on Twitter.
Yoel, leave his facts.
No, this was when Musk took over. There were 237 million monetizable daily active
Yeah.
users.
So listen to this. One of the reasons that I'm in the chair I'm in today, and in the chair I am at X leading the company.
Can somebody explain to me what kind of fashion this is, where you make your pantsuit jacket look like shit? I'm sorry, I'm new to fashion. Can somebody explain to me why there are threads that have been splayed out from the seam between the sleeve and the torso of the jacket, and why it looks like that? Is this just like a fashion style that I do? Maybe the ad revenue is really bad. This is like the nicest coat they could afford. It's not a new to fashion thing. It's just bad fashion. I don't get it, but okay.
Is because I knew,
like, look at that,
for the last decade, and you knew this, part of my old remit was to oversee...
God. Do you guys remember how back in like the 2010s, there would be that style where girls would wear like a long sleeved shirt and underneath it there'd be a short sleeve shirt that would have like a higher collar, so you would see both of them at the collar line, and then they would try to sell shirts that had like a fake interior shirt? That's what she's wearing right now. Look, this is like the silhouette, or this is like the shape of a tuxedo coat, and then there's the vest, but they're both the same item. What is this? Yeah, the camisole. Yeah. That thing. I had one of those. Yeah, well, they were popular for a while, even though they're objectively terrible. Like this look. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it. I can't find what I'm looking for. Whatever, I'm struggling. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Anyway, this is hideous. Cammy's secret. Oh my god, yes. Like this. Yeah, it would be like a clip-on or like an included undershirt, but it's just clipped on. It's not real. Like there's no shirt under the shirt. It's just like a square of fabric. And that's what's happening right here with this like fake vest plus fake tuxedo suit. Look, this is a tuxedo suit. Look, it has the like penguin like flare out thing, and it can't be buttoned to its why? Okay, sorry.
Last decade, and you knew this, part of my old remit was to oversee not only the advertising revenue for the company, but to look after all of our enterprise relationships, I still say all of the NBCU enterprise relationships, and Twitter was one of them. I specifically used the name Twitter, by the way, purposefully.
It looks like she's wearing a weird blazer and waistcoat combo that's stitched together. It's not a tuxedo. No, it's obviously not a tuxedo. What I'm saying is that the outer, like the fake outer like jacket is meant to resemble or is it not a tuxedo? It's a dinner jacket. Is that? I think it might be dinner jacket and vest. Like this. What are these fucking outfits when you look this up? Holy shit. Or the outer, it's not meant to button together. It just like hangs off the side and then the vest buttons or whatever. Like that's what the flow of the, okay. Never mind. Never mind. It looks really bad and that's all that matters.
And that's when, for 10 years, and how I fell in love with the platform. Because I knew, first of all, we all knew the trajectory of where broadcast cable television and usage and consumption was going. But this, powered by now X, was the only mechanism that could take the premium content business, live global events, news, when I used to sit in my office and watch you.
Okay, dodging the question. Everyone says for me to go to this point in time.
But so then talk to me about this comment that Elon Musk made just a week ago saying he wanted to make it all subscription to fight the army of bots. And when I heard that news, I thought two things. Number one, I would be surprised if you, whose background is in free ad-supported content on all the broadcast
I think my
networks.
background is being a very senior executive.
Senior executive, but I would be.
Okay. She's like preemptively dodging responsibility over this comment.
Surprised if you didn't want to have some free version of X, and I'm curious if you agree, or if you think it all should be subscription based. And my question for you was, the two things I thought was, I would be curious to know if you thought that was a good plan, and second, how much he consulted you, because yes, you were brought in as CEO, that is your title, but you don't cover product.
Right.
All of the product teams.
Right.
Report to Elon Musk, and as a result of that, there's been a lot of.
Does anyone in this room?
Can I finish, please? Wait, Linda,
sure.
let me finish. Please, let me finish.
Sure.
As a result of the fact that the product team does not report to you, the product team at Meta reports to Mark Zuckerberg. Because the product team does not report to you, there has been speculation that you are in more of a COO role or a CBO role, a CEO in name only role.
You know what's funny is that we talk about that a lot at X. As you know, it's a very flat organization, and the teams are very empowered to perform at their highest levels. So I'm not sure what your definition of, or how you want to kind of wiggle me into an answer of, are you really just a COO or a, I don't know.
Dude, this woman is like a narcissist. Holy shit. If her job is just to be like the professional suit that tries to give everything a clean image while Elon Musk chews on wires back at HQ, that's one thing. But it seems like she's actively upset at the idea of like having a hand in any of this. CEOs are often narcissistic sociopaths. Well, yeah.
No, CEO in name only.
Oh, okay, yeah, not nice. But that being said,
See, yeah, look, she's bristling.
That being said, I think what Elon and I talk about a lot, number one,
Just noticing the mama necklace. Don't like that at all.
always starts with the user experience, and that has to be primary. But I want to go back to your, he runs product, he runs technology, he leads a team of exceptionally talented engineers. And who's kidding who? I don't care what the structure is at Meta, but who wouldn't want Elon Musk sitting by their side running product?
I see you.
No wonder everyone is talking about this interview as disastrous. So the only thing that I can really think of here is that narcissists tend to attract other narcissists because there's like this there's like a toxic cycle of like the people most willing to give you adulation for what you're perceived to have done, and they do it for like their own benefit. I think that in her mind, she's probably like this Machiavellian girl boss who's doing and saying whatever she can do to climb to the top. But because, like Elon, she's transparently unlikable, it just kind of makes her come across like a lunatic, you know? Do you think she's his mommy dom? She is hot. I mean, I'm not gonna... I'll criticize her for a lot, but, you know, I know where to draw the line.
Show of hands.
There may be a few show of hands to get the cute chuckles you're getting, but I would say the percentages in this room are about 99% who would say no to that, and 1% of maybe personal opinion,
So
feelings.
Notably, last week, Walter Isaacson came out with a book.
Did you read it?
I have not read. It's very long. I've not.
Yeah, she's incredibly unlikable. The way she responds, fuck. The like man, you have to know that Elon Musk appointed her like directly and specifically, like it was his choice and nobody else's, because they would have gone with somebody more likable otherwise. Like normally CEOs are not this unlikable. For the most part, like CEOs are jackasses, but they know how to smile for a camera and come across as likable. It's not that difficult. I don't know. Psychotic. Absolutely psychotic.
About the media business that you're building. I know that it says we're out of time, but if you're okay to keep going, I would like to keep going.
I'll wait till they come give me the hook.
Well, they're not going to give you the hook, Linda.
I
have hours more of questions here. I know you have places to be. But I would like to keep going. And I think specifically when it comes to why you are at X, I know it is to rebuild the relationship with advertisers. And I know I'd be remiss not to ask about the ADL. And we've had the head of the ADL on CNBC multiple times. He reported, first he talked about how much he respected Elon Musk once Elon took over Twitter. And more recently, he talked about how he had a great productive meeting with you.
We did. That is in fact
which was
true.
Followed by Elon Musk saying he was threatening to sue the ADL.
I wish that would be different. We're looking into that.
So,
Oh, she does not want to step on this one. Holy shit. That's a minefield she's sort of delicately navigating.
do you
I want to be clear about the situation.
Dude, does she not have media training? Why would you ever do this? Do you have any idea? This is like lesson 1, okay? If you want to be likable in public, do not literally attempt to silence your interviewer by holding a hand up like a parent. Why would you? This makes you look fucking terrible.
Okay. So shortly after, maybe a day after.
I don't think it's that bad. It's really, really bad. It's one of those subtle things that's kind of difficult to pick up on unless you know a bit about media training and how stuff like this is typically done. But there's a huge difference between what she just did, which is hold up, wait for silence, continue. That's terrible. Or doing something like a, whoa, 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 hold on, and like leaning into it a little bit, saying like, whoa, I have a point, because this one makes you look like a stern parent, which makes you look unlikable. And this one, where you're just trying to get a word in, makes it seem like you've got your hand raised in a class. It's an indication of like conciliation almost, like you're sort of suggesting like, whoa, 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 hold on a second, you know, that kind of thing. I gotta get one of these days. I'll fix the goddamn drop shadow. It's just been, it's just full on not aligning now. So we're just done with like the. There we go. That's good to know. Thanks to media training. You're welcome.
After the transaction and acquisition of the company, the ADL, under Jonathan's leadership, came out with a letter, ecosystem-wide, suggesting that advertisers pause.
Well, was this the
on
coalition
platform.
of 60 civil rights groups? Because there was, what I remember covering in November 2022 was 60 civil rights groups, including Color of Change, Media Matters, Free Press, and yes, the EDL. They did launch a campaign called Stop Toxic Twitter, but it was, they were releasing data.
You asked me specifically about the ADL.
Yeah.
So the ADL has been
This is fucking rough, dude. I'd be surprised if she does any more interviews like this after this.
very consistent about suggested pausing of advertisers on then Twitter, continues into X. Those were related to Elon's comments about advertisers being down so significantly. The productive conversation I had with Jonathan, and I would hope that there will be productive conversations in the future, was about the need for the ADL to acknowledge all the progress that has been made now at X. And therein lies the moment that we're living in today. And when Jonathan continues to question the progress as it relates to anti-Semitism, it is disappointing that there is not equal time given to all the progress. As a matter of fact, did you get an alert on your phone about the spaces that Elon is doing tomorrow night?
I did not, but admittedly have not been on my phone today.
Okay. Well, Elon is co-hosting and participating in a Spaces tomorrow night with, I believe it's 9. It could have grown more. Very influential Jewish leaders in
Nothing. I have nothing to say. No notes.
The world to discuss anti-Semitism, the current state of the impact on culture, and how X can help.
So just,
So I will leave you with that.
but Linda, is this in
Wait, wasn't Ben Shapiro there? I think he was. I think that a lot of the people who were there were like conservative Jews who were like, "Oh yeah, we'll talk about how Twitter is actually great." Yeah.
response to the 100 Jewish leaders, including prominent rabbis and academics, releasing
You know, I
this
don't
letter?
believe so. I don't believe so. And again, what you're referencing,
Yeah.
I was just made aware of it today, and I
think
think
it
it was
came out
today.
yesterday. Or
I
Monday,
I don't believe so. As you know, last week Elon also met with Prime Minister Netanyahu. So
Okay, yeah, so literally it's going to be like, okay, yeah, we may have received condemnations from 57,000 different civil rights orgs, but we've gathered an assembly of the world's worst Jews to agree. We have Ben Shapiro, we have some Orthodox rabbis who think that Palestinians are vermin who need to be exterminated. We have Netanyahu, the guy who is like currently attempting to crush Israeli democracy and believes and is a Holocaust denier. Well, Holocaust revisionist, not a Holocaust denier, but yeah.
that in conjunction with open conversations that we have with a lot of these groups, right? So whether it's the AJC or the Foundation to Combat Anti-Semitism, we have an open, honest partnership relationship.
Seriously,
And if there's
John.
something that comes up that we're not perfect and we didn't catch, they DM me directly. They contact me so I could alert the trust and safety team, and we invite all of our partners to participate for the solution, to create a solution to benefit the people who are being harmed when things are...
Okay, she's nervous. She's not directly responding to the question. She's playing a lot with her hands, something she wasn't doing before. This is not a series of questions she wants to answer. I'm surprised she even allowed the question. She might have just said, like, I'm not at liberty to comment on that.
negotiated in the press for headlines. So imagine if we were able to take the conversation from a proactive, from a reactive one when some of the damage has already been done, and enable us to be proactive as partners to focus on the real solution. And I wish everybody would have that as their priority focus, because some of these groups have moved beyond the scope of their original mandate into activist organizations.
But Linda, to me, the way I saw you at NBC Universal is very conciliatory. That was part of your job. And the way I saw you meeting with Jonathan Greenblatt and having these meetings, very conciliatory. That is your reputation, is how I've known you.
Well, I'm a nurturer and a solution provider.
Nurturer? That's really the number one. Okay.
So let me finish the question.
Yeah, maybe the mommy dummy accusations were on the money here. What the fuck?
The fact that days after that meeting with Jonathan Greenblatt, Elon Musk threatens to sue the ADL makes me wonder if he's working in opposition to what you're doing, and it makes me wonder if you think that the ADL is defaming Twitter, and if it's a good idea for your partner in your company to be threatening that lawsuit.
I'll repeat what I said. The conflation of two different issues of what's going on at the ADL, which is the continuation of focusing on an advertiser ecosystem to pause at X without acknowledging progress, is the situation. When you reference my style of being very partnership-oriented, or use your word conciliatory, is because I built a career on partnerships, knowledge, and hard work, right? That continues at X. Okay? And I've also spent my entire career being candid and completely transparent. Ask anyone who's ever done.
So she's not going to answer this either. Okay, gotcha. So the only thing that we really get from this entire interview is like a psychiatric insight into her brain, and it's not looking good in there. Proof we can replace CEOs with cheaper AI. Thank you, Linda. Stop generating. Ha. Fantastic stuff. You missed one of the funniest parts of the interview. I can't. Didn't seem to know about Elon Musk's mandatory fee plan. Appeared to know nothing about Elon Musk's plan to impose a mandatory fee for using the platform. Yeah, they're not going to do that. It would destroy Twitter immediately. It was just something that Elon Musk offhandedly said. If they actually attempted to do that, it would end the platform immediately. There's no fucking way. Absolutely no way. And for that reason, I hope they do it. All right, that's enough stupid Twitter bullshit. Hold on. All right, what is this? Kanye West files use trademark applications following anti-Semitism controversy. What? Potential clothing, games, music, streaming, and more. Okay. The Jewish people. Okay. What is a U? Yeezy Jewish? Yeezy Jew? I'm guessing? A U tree? I don't think he's going after the tree. I don't think that's what he's doing. That face mask, lol. Yeah, it doesn't look very comfy. I don't think anything's going to come of this, though, because the fact that he's put trademark filings in for all this stuff, like amusement park attractions, a TV series, medical services, like what? Like, I don't know. Yeah. Until anything more happens, we'll just chalk it up to bipolar nonsense. I would go to the U's amusement park. Thank you. Yes, I would. Kevin McCarthy is considering resigning from the House before the term ends. Good. Fuck that guy. God. Okay. Close that. Close that. What's this other shit? Oh yeah, the AOC Biden wall shit. I saw this clip off Fox News as well.
Biden administration is set to resume deporting Venezuelan migrants.
Some new border wall, something he vowed repeatedly not to do in the past 2 years. Here he is yesterday.
And one question on the border wall. The border wall, the money was appropriated for the border wall. I tried to get them to reappropriate, to redirect that money. They didn't. They wouldn't. And in the meantime, there's nothing under the law other than they have to use the money for what it was appropriated. I can't stop that.
Do you believe the border wall works?
No.
Now, AOC disagrees with the president, posting the Biden administration was not required to expand construction of the border wall, and they certainly were not required to waive several environmental laws to expedite the building.
Yeah, this one kind of confuses me. I guess I just don't know why Biden would do this, if not for the fact that he had no reason but to. The amount of money that's been earmarked for the wall isn't going to make any kind of dent in the problem that we're having right now with a wave of immigration. It's just going to make him look like a hypocrite to everyone, and he's not even said that it's a good thing. So I'm not saying that AOC is wrong here. I just don't understand why he would do it. Like, it doesn't help him in any way at all to anyone, you know? Like, so is AOC incorrect when she says that he could have used the money for something else, or is he just doing something for no reason? I guess I don't really understand. How much is it anyway? Is it like... All right. I think the reconnection just went through. It'll take a sec though. Is my OBS lagging? Yes, it is. Yo. Huh. My OBS is lagging. Echo. You see that delay? You see that delay? Echo. In my mouth? That's weird. Let me see if I can fix that. Hold on. All right. Okay, that should reconnect. Bring it back. We're back? We're back properly? Okay. That was weird. There was a delay in the actual OBS. I've never seen that before. The functioning of OBS on my end when it comes to audio processing shouldn't be affected by any kind of internet nonsense. I don't know why that happened. That's weird. Well, this stuff is always complicated, so. I'll check White, though. I think I might have tried that before. Your site chat has a massive delay. That's because you guys have to refresh. Let me see. Beau of the Fifth covered it. He has no choice. It's in appropriations. He literally sold off all the assets he could, so this money is just going to be wasted rebuying the materials, so nothing really gets done. AOC is incorrect. He cannot just, quote, use it elsewhere. Is that true? Okay. If that's... Why the waivers, then? I'm not sure about the waivers. Does Beau of the Fifth Column also talk about the waivers? I trust Beau of the Fifth Column a lot. But if AOC is just talking out of her ass, that's pretty bad. I know that as a leftist, the immediate the immediate urge is to distrust Biden over this, and I mean, me too, yeah. But I mean, she has to know. I mean, she has access to information that's better than us. She's a congresswoman. Yeah, Chatter, Biden is going way further than the legal minimum he's being required to. You're like 50%. AOC is mostly correct in this. Biden is going way further than he has to. Okay, so Biden has to use the appropriation funds on the wall. But he didn't have to bypass the climate regulations. Is that correct? Yeah, waiving the laws to build border walls. I'm now more confused, thank you. I don't think the president can reappropriate special appropriations funds. No, I understand that, but what about the bypassing? He has to use the appropriated funds for the wall. The bypassing or whatever the fuck will be enforced if he is sued for not using the appropriated funds. Bovidia?
Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Beau again. So today we are going to talk about Biden and laws and walls and what happened. We will talk about political maneuvering, political expediency, and how to...
I don't want to just watch this video. That's like unironically stealing content.
The president needs to take responsibility for this decision and reverse the course. Biden's DHS chief says Congress is to blame, not the White House.
Day one, this administration has made clear that a border wall is not the answer. The construction project reported today was appropriated, funded during the prior administration in 2019, and the law requires the government to use these funds for this purpose.
Now, White House officials are rushing to the president's defense, posting, quote, the funds for about 20 miles of border reinforcements were appropriated in 2019 before the president took office.
Okay.
He called on Congress to reappropriate the funds for smarter, more effective enforcement uses. Congress failed to do so. Rule of law requires the project to be completed in 2023. Now, of course, in the past, guys, when the White House has had some issues with the law and court rulings, they've pushed back and have vowed to fight them. See also abortion and student loans. Guys?
Hey, Lucas, here's the thing. We did report 2 weeks ago that, or the New York Post had it, we discussed it, that they were selling off pieces of the fence for pennies on the dollar. This is all related. So whatever we had, they can't put up what they no longer have. Weren't they violating the spirit or the actual sanctity of that law?
So wait, these guys aren't even calling Biden a hypocrite. They're acknowledging the fact that he's been obstructionist on this. Okay, you know what my takeaway is from this? I don't think this is that big of a deal. It's supposed to be 20 miles of wall. It seems like they were, this has been deliberately obstructed with previous selling that would make it more difficult for this money to go towards the construction of a law. There's probably a lot of like legally complicated stuff with regards to waiving the specific provisions for environmental protections or whatever, but it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. I guess the main thing is that, like, I've seen a lot of lefties who are acting like this is Biden's big pivot, and actually Biden and Trump are equal on the wall, or whatever. I've seen a lot of people like that. It's like, see, you said that Biden and Trump were different, but here Biden is building the... Like, okay, so no. So that's just, like, not true. It was earmarked by the previous administration. They're legally obligated to use that money. They've been obstructionist and selling off funds beforehand to make it harder for more wall construction to take place, and there might be some legal nuance with regards to the environmental provisions, but that is... Frankly, that's the job for lawyers to figure out. I'm not legally educated enough. I would basically just like, someone will tell me something about it and I'll be like, oh, okay. And then someone else will tell me a different thing and I'll be like, oh, okay. I don't have enough knowledge to like make a ruling, except for the fact that this seems like it's not a big deal. So, okay, cool. Look at CNN's headline. CNN... Biden border wall. What headline? You know, CNN puts out multiple headlines. Why wouldn't you like link it? What are you referring to? Why am I even typing this? Oh yeah, I've seen this. Biden says border walls don't work as administration bypasses laws to build more barriers in South Texas. This is just like fake journalism. This is just lying. Like, the facts of the headline are correct, but the implication is deliberately dishonest. And CNN has been bought out and has been deliberately like pushing more right-wing shit. So obviously, you know. The Department of Homeland Security has concluded it is necessary to waive certain laws, regulations, and other legal requirements in order to ensure the expeditious construction of barriers and roads. (2019) Appropriations Bill. DHS required to use those funds for their appropriated purpose. It needs to be spent by the end of fiscal year 2023. Okay, yeah. I'm sorry. I want to have like more knowledge on this, but the impression that I'm getting from this is that this is just a bit of like dirty business that the Biden administration had to put through. One of the incredibly like complicated web of earmarked funds that get shuffled around by the federal government, and it just has to happen. And like otherwise you could commit some like giant legal battle to reappropriate it, but they tried to reappropriate it and Congress wouldn't do it, so now they're just stuck with it, you know. Yeah, I don't know if like the bureaucracy of the administrative state is best spent on arguing over the reappropriation of the funds to build 20 miles of wall when it was earmarked 4 years ago and legally needs to be spent by now. Yeah, because you could be sued for being obstructionist, like if you didn't spend the money. Yeah, okay, so my answer is then, congratulations. I came away from this being just as pro-Biden as I was before. All right, you know, I don't know. I guess I'm maybe AOC knows some stuff that I don't, but I really, really, really wish that she wouldn't. Like, wouldn't it have been better if she was like, you know, like they tried to get these funds reappropriated and Congress wouldn't let them or something? Like, I don't know, man. She knows her base. She's in like a plus 30D district. It's not like she's fighting and clawing for every vote here. Like, you know, fuck. We need unity. We need to... This is not the right time to be like convincing your base of young people that Biden is some kind of hypocrite on border wall construction. Unity is overrated. It's actually oh, I get it. Like the game engine. I get it. Well, it's very important when it comes to like winning political coalitions. Yeah, I see. I don't know. It's a good point. He should fight it in court. I don't know what he could do to fight it in court. The money is earmarked for this, and he has to spend it. Like, what is there to fight, really? He could not do it and get sued. I mean, would that be better? Yeah, Black Caucus, but she has to call him out in the right things. Yeah, fighting it in court in this case just means getting sued, spending time and money fighting it, losing, and being forced to do it anyway, after taking an optics loss. And if it really is true that they sold off all the materials beforehand, meaning that a significant portion of the earmarked funds will have to go towards rebuying them, they're probably not even going to be able to build 20 miles. Like, that's another big thing, too. Isn't that kind of based? Like, Biden being so committed to not building more wall that even if there's legally appropriated funds towards that cause, he's like, well, good luck building it after I've sold all your bricks for pennies on the dollar. So you have to buy back all the materials. That's pretty based. I don't know. I mean, that's a degree of like that's political obstructionism in a sense that I can really get behind. Would Biden blocking the funds be grounds for impeachment? I mean, anything can be grounds for impeachment, I guess, like depending on how bad faith you want to be about it. I'm sure they would say so, yeah. Well, anyway, now we know. CBS is claiming Republicans have flipped the script on immigration.
Republicans may have successfully flipped the script on immigration. This comes after Republican governors started sending migrants north on buses and planes to try to emphasize that the immigration issue isn't just a border state problem, but should be everybody's concern. And it now has Democrats openly criticizing a White House that's been reluctant to engage on big...
This is complete horseshit. DeSantis and Abbott busing migrants up north did not in any way lead to the Democrat like majority shifting on immigration. Like this is literally like fake news. Complete horseshit. It's like how Republicans will be like, remember when Martha's Vineyard received migrants and they immediately shipped them off or whatever? When in reality, Martha's Vineyard, which is like all rich white Democrats or whatever, like saw these migrants and then immediately like gave them provisions and blankets and helped gave them shelter and stuff, and then sent them to the nearest processing facility, which is where you need to go as a migrant in order to get like your papers in order. And like Abbott and Abbott and like DeSantis and stuff were like shipping off like children and like sickly mothers across the country, sending them away from their family and connections and just like ruining lives over nothing. And also arguably breaking the law with kidnapping by lying about where they were being sent to. I don't think that's the point of the TikTok. I mean, the opening premise of this TikTok that the narrative is flipped beginning with those like stunts is just wrong.
immigration reform, saying it's up to Congress to do so. You may have seen over the weekend on Face the Nation when the New York governor, Kathy Hochul, suggested it's time for the country...
It is up to Congress. Congress approves budgets. Obviously, any major immigration reform would be heavily... Yeah? Like, there is stuff you can do as an executive, but, like, the funds associated with certain projects would... Okay.
To limit who exactly can cross the U.S.-Mexico border.
It is too open right now.
And you may have seen that...
We've been saying this has been said for decades. This has always been the case.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams is in Mexico trying to get a better handle on the situation. And Chicago's mayor and Illinois' governor, both of them big-time Democrats, also criticized the White House this week for how it's handling immigration. This idea of
No. Even there is a fucking lie. You could see that headline. The headline said the current migrant situation was untenable. That was not explicitly a criticism of Biden's policies. The migrant situation being untenable means there are more migrants coming through, but that's not necessarily a reflection of Biden's policies. It could just be more migrants are attempting to get through. If double the migrants attempt to get through the southern border and double the number actually make it through, there's been no change in the policy from Biden. It's just more migrants are coming through. This is right-wing horseshit. This is trying to use immigration and fear of migrants as a wedge in order to construct the illusion that Democrats are shifting against the Biden administration on this, which they're just not. They're just not. Total horseshit. So CBS is a right-wing rag now? I mean, I don't know about that. This guy is a fucking hack. I mean, you can tell by looking at him. Can't trust that face, that hair, those glasses. Don't trust it. Don't trust it. Nope. The media wants Trump back so bad. Yeah, we never forget that, like, capital will overwhelmingly align with Donald Trump, especially on economic issues specifically, and media companies are run by capital. I mean, this is literally CNN Business, the business wing of the news organization that was headed by a CEO who said they were going to push more right-wing content. Here's why the shockingly good jobs report is going to cost you. I'm reminded of that recent polling that was done where more and more Americans believe that that like inflation is worse now than it was a year ago, when it's not. Biden passed the Inflation Reduction Act and fixed the inflation problem, or that like the economy is worse now than it was like some years ago, or like there's a ton of shit where it's like people are imagining a worse economy. The economy is bad right now. Like, I'm not saying it's good, but it's better than it was. Like the extent to which the economy is bad right now is objectively not attributable to Biden's policies. You know, to the extent he has had control over what has happened, he has improved things. The U.S. economy feels lousy for so many people. You'd think some really, really shockingly good news about the job market would give American spirits a boost. It won't. Here's why. Inflation is still biting. Prices continue to rise faster than anyone would like. Although annual price increases aren't in wild runaway mode like they were when inflation was above 9% last year, inflation is still above 3%, which is unhealthy for the economy. Dog, are you... Hold on. Our inflation right now is like at tier with or lower than like all comparable countries. Look, August 23, inflation 3.7, which is below Canada, Germany, Brazil, Mexico, France, Russia, whatever, Italy, Australia, the United Kingdom. Like, what's doing better than us? South Korea and Spain are on par. Japan's a little bit lower. And then it's Indonesia, Saudi Arabia, Switzerland, Netherlands, China. That's it. And China's doing its own thing right now. This is deflationary. This is bad. Like, there's a world inflation issue right now. And Biden's Inflation Reduction Act brought it down. Again, like, there are problems with the economy, but it's not down to Biden. It's capitalism. Why is deflation even bad? It's complicated. You don't want to spend. You don't want to borrow. When you see gas prices at $3.75 on average, mortgage rates above 7% in a 23-year high, food prices going up at the grocery store, and a restart to student loan payments for millions of Americans, that's why a majority of Americans say President Joe Biden's policies have made economic conditions worse. What policies? What higher gas price button did Joe Biden press to make the gas price go up? What button did he press to make the mortgage rates and the food prices go up? Like, these aren't attributable to him, according to a CNN poll. Yeah, if you ask the average fucking voter. Like, this is the problem with going off of polling and vibes or whatever. The economy is bad for people right now because of capitalism. We're seeing a very obvious and very clear tendency for wages to not keep up with inflation, for corporations to rise or raise the prices of their goods. Corporate profits are at record highs. The best way to solve this is with unions, and Biden has been aggressively pushing for unionization. It's unironically because OPEC is artificially raising the price of oil. Yep, they said they're going to. Yeah. OPEC can determine whether or not our oil prices, our gasoline prices are super high or not. And OPEC is run by far-right dictators with direct financial ties to people like Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Literally, like Donald Trump was bragging about how he has close financial ties with Saudi officials who will pay him billions of dollars. His son-in-law got $2 billion for nothing from Saudi Arabia. Elon Musk, Saudis, financed the purchase of Twitter. They have a direct monetary incentive to destroying democracy and promoting fossil fuel use here in the United States. So, like, this is literally just saying, hey, we don't have any way of tying this to Biden's policies. except the inflation has come down, which is due to Biden, thank you, and the jobs market is doing good, which is due to Biden, thank you, but all these other things aren't doing good. So actually, that's why people are fed up with Biden's economy based on this polling data. Yeah, gas prices always magically go down with a Republican in office because Republicans are super pro-fossil fuels, so naturally OPEC's going to drop the price for them and make things easier. I thought something fell.
That's what I wanted to do.
Mr. President, you started your remarks here today by saying it was
Not a video?
Detect fentanyl and the like. That's what I wanted to do.
Mr. President, you started your remarks here today by saying it was good news today with the economic report. Why do you think most people still don't feel positive or feel good news about the economy?
Well, first of all, you just heard the news today, too. They haven't heard it. I think the people, those 300+ thousand people who got jobs, feel better about the economy. Look, I got to choose my words here. Close. You all are not the happiest people in the world. What you report, and I mean it sincerely. It gets you get more legs when you're reporting something that's negative. I don't mean you're picking on me. I'm just the nature of things. You turn on the television, and there's not a whole lot about boy saves dog as he swims in the lake. To say it's about somebody pushed the dog in the lake. I mean I get it, but if you just listen to what's going on around the world, there's reason for people to be concerned. There's reason for people to be concerned what's going on in Russia. There's reason to be concerned about what's going on in other parts of the world. I think that the American people are smart as hell and know what their interests are. I think
that's not true.
I think they know they're better off financially than they were before. It's a fact. And all that data, all that polling stuff shows they think they're more positive about the economy than they've been, more positive about their jobs, et cetera. I just think let me put it this way. If you just watch what happened last week in the Congress, how excited are you going to be about much of anything?
I don't know anyone who feels financially well off right now personally. Yeah, well, they're not. But like, that's genuinely not because of the policy of this administration. Like, the only economic policy that has really run through this administration has varied from positive to status quo. Like, people are talking about the student loans resuming. He fought to get rid of the student loans, He fought pretty extensively. People often understate the extent to which he tried to get rid of the student loans. The inflation, he fixed that. His legislation, Republicans had to be dragged kicking and screaming across the finish line to get that through. Like, so much of the bad stuff that's happening right now is a combination of factors that he doesn't have control over, and they're also combinations of factors that involve more like fundamental structural reform to the economy, like broader capitalism shit, right? Now, his push for unions is the best long-term solution to that. Don't forget about the infrastructure spending and the manufacturing boom. Yeah. Would it kill him to acknowledge that the economy feels bad, lol? Well, I mean, he did. He said, like, there are plenty of reasons to feel bad right now. But again, keep in mind, like, because the average voter is a fucking moron, most people, if they hear the economy's doing bad right now, will just think it's the president, because people think the president has a bunch of buttons in their office, like make economy good, and it doesn't. A lot of what we're dealing with has to do with the wealth reshuffling that took place after COVID. That would have happened under any presidency because there's not really any way to fix that outside of like really fucking fundamental economic reform or some aggressive wealth redistribution that would exceed the bounds of what a president can do on their own. They would need a cooperative Congress, and even then they would need to be feeling really spicy that morning to even attempt it. Yeah, I'm still going to put some blame on the president. Okay, you have to blame the president for stuff the president is at fault for. A lot of the bad stuff that happened under Donald Trump's presidency wasn't incidental. It happened because of him. He did the bad things. Biden's worked with an obstructionist Congress for, the entirety of his presidency, or like Senate, parliamentarian, whatever. And again, I'm not saying that he's some like flawless revolutionary who's been perfect in every way and he's only been stopped by external forces. I'm not saying that, but like you have to blame him for stuff that he's actually done, right? A good example of this would be the student debt cancellation. Like a lot of the debt cancellation stuff, it really bothers me because people on the left will pretend that he didn't try to get that canceled. Like the idea that the Supreme Court would just step in and stomp it down and Congress would be like uncooperative or whatever. There are limits to what a president can do on their own. And now that the House is Republican, there are even larger limits in what the Democrats can do broadly. I'm not saying that like to be uncritical or whatever. I'm just saying like, man, if you want ammunition to attack Biden over, honestly, Biden just hasn't given us a lot of it, I know that sucks. Like, I know it feels like really important and meaningful to like be the left flank and distinguish and criticize. And we can do that. And it matters to do that. But like, we have to operate in reality. We can't like make up things to be mad at, because if that's the case, we're not really fairly participating in the process and we're giving free ammunition to the right. Like, surely we can do better with that, or do better than that, right? There is the border wall thing. We just talked about the border wall thing, and it seems like that's been largely overstated as well. Yeah, seriously, DM, like the big economy button, Well, anyway. I'm more angry at what he hasn't done, like price controls for staple foods, rent, and firing Trump's head of the Fed. I don't think the president can unilaterally put national price controls on food. Like, that's just not a power that he has. And even then, like, that would be an insane, that would be like, even if he could snap that in, like, that would be incredibly difficult. He could do price controls on medicine. Well, no, that's having controls on the negotiated price that Medicare has when engaging with pharma companies. It's not the same as, there's a difference between saying that like the government will only buy this medicine at a given price threshold and saying you, a food seller, can only sell food at a given threshold. Like, those are two very different things, legally and economically. No, Vosh, he literally has the ability for all medicine partly funded by the U.S., so all medicine. I would have to look more into that. Every time people tell me, like, did you know that Biden could just do this? And I look into it further, he can't. I did this with the student loan thing, where there were a lot of lefties being like, did you know that Biden could just do this one thing? I looked at, no, he can't. He can't do that. He tried his unilateral option and it was shut down. Like, he can't. There are things that could be done, but the idea that he could just do that, he can't. Like, the marijuana descheduling stuff is also fairly complicated. There is a lot he can do, not quite unilaterally, but at the very least, like through the administrative state, to that effect. Though even then, like I often see people oversimplify it. No, he is still trying to cancel student debt. Yeah, for sure, K-Comrade. How do you even look into this stuff? Well, definitely not by listening to lefties on it. Even though he can't do price controls, didn't Nixon do it? I don't know much about Nixon price controls. Executive Order 11615, pursuant to the Economic Stabilization Act of 1970, imposing a 90-day freeze on wages and prices in order to counter inflation. So pursuant to the Economic Stabilization Act of 1970. And that allows for standards to serve as a guide for determining levels of wage and prices. Okay, so it seems like he was given like specific permissions and powers within line of the Economic Stabilization Act of 1970 they used to impose a freeze on wages and prices to combat inflation. I'd be interested in seeing what effect that had. Effect of the Nixon shock. Let me see. Later ramifications. Widely considered to be a political success, but an economic failure for bringing on the 1973 to 1975 recession. Oh, that's not good. The dollar plunged by a third during the 1970s. Oh, that's not good. There are problems with price controls, like really big problems. He just won a case against Big Pharma and lowered drug prices. No, Medicare drug price negotiations. That's different. Lowering the prices through Medicare means they're saying through Medicare they will only buy this medicine at this price floor or at this price ceiling. But that's not the same as restricting the price at which the pharma companies are legally allowed to sell it. Those are two different. It's there's a difference between saying there's a price ceiling on this and we'll only buy it at this point. It does mean Medicare is actually allowed to negotiate. They weren't before. Yes, and that's very good. Yes, that is good. I'm just saying this stuff is complicated, that's all. And we should be extremely skeptical of all of these economic, like, doomer articles that are going to... Oh, my God. All of these hit pieces on the Biden administration that are going to come out, not dead, like right before the election, you know? Like, I'm just saying, like, if you're reading like a CNN business article and there's some ghoul in a suit who's explaining how actually, you know, good old fashioned Americans are fed up with Biden's economy and look at all these negative indicators for Biden's economy, like, don't just go, oh, yeah, of course, because you're reading an article written by a Republican who has speculative interest in having a right-winger take power again for deregulative purposes. Like, don't just like instantly buy into that, you know? Like, there are valid criticisms, but you gotta look into it. We're going to see this just a tidal wave of disinfo against the Biden administration. And we need to be really careful. I think that AOC could have been a lot more careful with regards to the appropriated funds for the wall construction down the southern border. Like, we need to be careful. Okay, nice. In 4 minutes, we are talking to Sisyphus, the person who I was negative towards on stream just a bit ago. The video about the revolution will not be live streamed. Oh, they emailed me and were quite nice in the email, so I think it'll be a positive convo, actually. I don't think you guys are going to get much blood. Did you see this? Yeah, I saw this. This is why I'm trying to get into my drip arc, man. I don't want to be like a fascist. DeSantis has been wearing these like disgusting high heel boots. Wait, hold on. This isn't even the worst of it. Let me see if I can find the really bad ones. Because that's from a few days ago. This was from like 1 day ago. One second. I gotta find it. It was so bad. Holy shit, dude. God. Look at this. He's wearing these like cheap leather boots that have like a 3-inch rise at the heel. So you can see that the top of his foot is pressing right here, but his toes end right here. So because he's wearing these like goofy, like oversized boots to try to make him taller, there's like a whole 2 inches of unfilled shoe here. So they're curling up like clown shoes. If you're doing this, you might want to fill the front of the toe with like some kind of padding, And look how far up they go in his leg. Look at this. He's wearing heels in that shoe for sure. No, he is. Look, his heel is right here. And this is where it comes down. It's like a 3-inch. It's like a 3-inch lift. He's been going around wearing these. It's insane. I know that tall people tend to win the presidency, but like, holy shit, you can do a better job than this. What if the whole shoe is empty? You mean like he's on his tippy toes, but his tippy toes are right here and his heel ends right here, and he's just like got a construction underneath it to add like a foot of height? Which of the Umberto Eco points is this? I don't know, but it's definitely on there. Let me pee super quick, then we'll talk to Sisyphus. I'm going to hit the ad button because I hate you guys. You know, I want you to suffer. All right. Howdy. Howdy, howdy.
Sorry. Mic's on now.
Hello.
Hey. How are you?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'll open up your stream, because I'm just on Discord right now.
Gotcha.
I can see you also.
Don't look at my chat. That's a classic mistake people make when talking to me.
Yeah, I know. That's why I usually prefer just staying on the Discord. I get distracted also really easily. I can hear my own voice. Okay, cool. All right. All set up. Oh yeah, no, I can see you on the Discord now. Actually, that's perfect.
Wonderful. Well, I'm live, of course, on my end.
Yeah, yeah.
Just trying to get the thingy fixed on my end. I'm very bad at this. Transform. Okay, that's not right. Well, they can hear you just fine. How's your day going?
It's good. I had like multiple, like I had like a podcast interview, and then I guess you're in touch with Garrett, like he's a PhD student working on looking at the online left. We had a discussion also, and I had like a kind of work related call. So it's been a lot of yapping. But how's your day?
My day's been pretty good. Just there we go. I finally fixed it. That's always such a pain. My day's been fine. It's just, are you West Coast?
East Coast.
East Coast. Okay. Well, my day's still just starting. I've still got plenty of time to fuck things up on my end. I appreciated you reaching out to me, and I figured since I was pretty vitriolic when speaking to you in the form of video, it would be a good counterbalance to be somewhat less vitriolic when talking to you directly.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, so it was pretty recent, so I'm sure people in chat recall the sort of disagreements that I had. But you reached out to me and wanted to talk, and now we're talking. So how are things going?
Things are good. I've been I mean, I've been working on other projects, but I've kind of I've been very interested in my own line of work and how I feel about it. And it was when I was working on a video regarding Buddhism, there was the idea came up of like right livelihood and how one kind of thinks about their work and is it considered sort of a compassionate activity. And I felt like I have a sort of all of us do a sort of like edutainment kind of role being played. Like it's information, but it's also like kind of people put it on in the background. There's entertainment also. And I was kind of I do care about politics quite a bit, and I was kind of wondering in my own position, what are sort of the limitations with how online politics are right now that maybe people, like specifically the audience, should be aware of. And this was not addressed specifically to streamers. I know that it's because the second video I want to do is called "The Revolution Will Not Be Uploaded." I kind of want to do a sort of the reaction to this, but I do think just in general the online format there were certain limitations that kind of lead to a lack of real political action. So I tossed that video out. I was expecting some sort of response. I felt like a lot of the criticisms, like despite the vitriolic nature of your like reaction, I thought you still raised some valid critiques. And at the end of the day, I take responsibility in the form of if I'm not communicating my point properly, that's on me, and I need to further refine my arguments and talk to other people, and hopefully, maybe I'll come away with a different opinion, a better view, something closer to the truth. And it's kind of turned into me talking to multiple different streamers, like and academics, also trying to kind of further figure out how do other people feel about this? How do other people feel about the sort of the extent to which this space can actually lead to political action. So I guess that's the context of why I made that video, and also why I wanted to reach out. And I do appreciate like the response also and having me on.
Well, yeah, of course. No, it's always something I'm happy to talk about. I feel like you said you were going to do a follow-up video called "The Revolution Will Not Be Uploaded," which I guess kind of puts to bed one of the frustrations I have, where I feel like to a lot of people there's this presumption of unproductivity behind live streaming that they don't attribute to non-live streamed content, but that doesn't seem to be the case here, I guess. I think that there is a as lefties, we tend to have very high opinions of ourselves intellectually, especially when compared to our opposition. It's not like fascists know what the fuck they're on about, right? So comparatively, we know a lot more. And as a consequence of that, we tend to think that we're above certain modes of engagement. And there's always this like, well, the proper revolutionary would do this, or the proper advocate would do that. And I think often it's kind of misguided. Political relevancy is largely up to our willingness to get down in the dirt and engage with the mediums that people actually pay attention to, whether that be YouTube or TikTok or whatever else. We're not all Trotskyites like handing pamphlets out at a street corner. We need to be where people are. And that comes with its own pitfalls, but it's also, I think, a prerequisite to victory. So I guess I want people to be a little more proud of the engagement they get into through those mediums, because that is how we will make a difference.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And also like I was fully aware that I was kind of engaging in that age-old antagonism of video essayists and debate bros or streamers. It was like a provocative kind of packaging of the video that was kind of supposed to elicit some sort of response. And I think that also, it unfortunately took away from the actual content a little bit. And I could see like if you have someone's face on, if you have your face on a thumbnail and it seems to be a video criticizing your job and stuff, it makes sense that there would be an antagonistic approach to it. But yeah, I'm not particularly like fond of the. I don't think video essayists and debate bros are that different.
We all agree on the fundamentals of nothing else. Yeah, so I guess when you envision, like, the left engaging in politically efficacious behavior and making a difference, I mean, how do you envision that taking place?
Do you mean like in the real world or in the digital space?
I don't think there's a
'Cause
meaningful distinction.
Okay. Um, I would argue that the one meaningful distinction would be the tangible fact that this is like communication, and there could be a bridge between the digital and the real world. But I would argue like there is a distinction between online politics. If that's I mean, there's overlap, but there's also a distinction. If it, does that would you agree or?
Oh, when it comes to advocacy, I mean, any mechanism for communication, it all seems to fit in the same sort of blanket to me, right? I mean, if you're engaging with somebody online and trying to convince them of this, that, the other, making an argument, I don't think there's that much of a difference fundamentally between going to a local meeting or a town hall or whatever and making that argument. I mean, fact is, most people get their news from some form of media, right? Not in-person engagement. If it's not the internet, it's TV. But you know, lefties don't exactly have free access to television as a medium for sharing our ideas.
I guess okay. Maybe this is more useful because I think they're very attached, but it's like along the pipeline, and there would still be a feedback, but it would be the initial. Like I find it very important the information, knowledge, and discourse that happens like online, in town halls, etc. And then there is like a kind of translating that into action later on. I mean, your like the canvassing events, the progressive victory, for example. That's like an example of. You know, try my best. But like I guess yeah. So I guess I could try to answer that in terms of the entire process of how the left functions. Is I would like to see, I guess, in terms of first the discussion in the discourse in the left, the more of the theory or like media related aspect of it, which is I do think is important, and it's the ground on which like action and praxis is like established, is needs-based communication over kind of pointing out complicity and injustices and kind of perceived wrongness in others. That would be my kind of gripe with how politics is discussed in the left, in left-leaning circles, both online and offline. I don't think it's entirely productive. And I guess that was the point that was being raised with regards to deference politics in the video. But I also think deference politics does have a critical role, but it's you know, I feel like a lot of the time people stop at that and then they don't continue with like offering some sort of constructive you know, feedback, or you know, trying to translate it into like, okay, well, what can we do?
So what would a continuation be to you? Because that to me, I feel like people on the left often very correctly gesture at that. You know, knowing something is one thing, doing something with it is another. The problem is that like you know, if you take a look at like who's actually willing to put what they know into practice, it's the right, you know? The right will. The right will go online and get radicalized, you know, with a bunch of ludicrous fear-mongering nonsense, and then they'll go and do a bomb threat or show up at a PTA meeting and scream about how trans people are raping children or whatever. That action serves to benefit them, of course, because they're lunatics and anti-life. But that is what they need to do to win, you know, because for them, winning is about terror and intimidation and violence. So if, since that obviously isn't our preferred mechanism for getting our point across, at least my impression is that it's not, we have to think of other ways to affect meaningful change. And I try to throw people on out there when it comes to like canvassing and voting and what have you. I do think those things are important. A lot of people on the left not only don't, but seem to think it's actively detrimental, which I think is extremely misguided. I mean, what does it look like to you moving on up?
In terms of like translating it into action,
yeah,
or oh yeah, so I think I'll just say like at the base level in a very simple way, like I think that it should involve like specific channels of where there's issues at like local political levels where people can literally just like like influencers can use their influence to direct people to specific organizations or areas that are, they can, organize, they can volunteer, they can send money to. People already do that. That's not it's not definitely not saying that that doesn't happen. But at least what I observe is that the extent to which that happens, in comparison to the amount of influence influencers have, it could be happening a lot more. And I think it's limited by sort of the drama or sort of like a squabbling, I think, that goes on that is apparent in streaming circles with video essayists. And I think more generally, there's I came across this idea while I was trying to like figure out this new video, but Sartre, like his idea of like seriality, where you have like he noticed there was a lot of like leftist groups that just had general grievances, and they were kind of fighting for the same thing, but there wasn't a lot of organization. And he came up with like the idea of seriality, where it's in like a shared social space. There's lots of actors going towards specific goals, and it sometimes looks like collective action, but it's not quite like organized. And there's this scarcity mentality where they are all at the end of the day trying to fight for a specific resource. So I think online, especially content creators that are on the left, the resource that they're fighting for would be attention. There's a scarcity of attention, and you have to capture that. And Sartre proposes a, I mean, to kind of give an example of this in the real world would be like rioting, where there's a lot of actors that are, they're there for somewhat the same reason, like a general grievance or a general issue with something, but each individual agent doesn't really, their goals don't really align, and there is like a general kind of mess. And I think online, a good example of that is like when characters like Andrew Tate emerge. It's almost like a riot-like energy on the left, where everybody wants to like get their punches in and everything, as they should. But to the extent to which that's constructive, there is a point where people start, I think, repeating lines and repeating things, and that's where I think there's a lot of wasted energy and attention. And then Sartre proposes group praxis, which is kind of the end of this scarcity mentality. And it's where, despite certain differences and grievances, and it's going to sound very cliche, that there is still some sort of like general organization amongst a group of people that they're working towards. So that's like very like kind of abstract, but I also don't think it's like a super absurd proposal.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like some people would interpret this as collusion, but I think it's just like a very basic level of cooperation. The incentive structures online are naturally competitive, even for people within the same political circle. Like you said, attention is a scarce resource that people fight over. Even when people get along with each other, like in a social sense, yeah, you got content creators who are friends with each other. Obviously, the first person to put out a video on a given subject is going to get a boost in attention for it. Like there's always an adversarial element to the relationship, which is unfortunate. It happens to the right too. It's a little inevitable. I think what I'm trying to strive for with the canvassing stuff is the idea that you have to stress modes of engagement that are non-adversarial by nature. The progressive victory stuff, for example, doesn't like really serve to benefit me or anyone. I mean, it does maybe like for attention, like you can say, oh, I helped so-and-so with the canvassing, but generally speaking, it's not as beneficial to the bottom line metrics as like putting out a video would be, which directly, it sort of enriches me through monetization. By hamping on the non-adversarial stuff, you have the ability to, I guess, promote positive engagement in ways you wouldn't get out otherwise. But even then, this is a tough sell for a lot of online lefties, Go and canvass for Democrats. I mean, to a lot of these people, it's like you're asking them to, watch their wife get fucked in front of them. They don't want to be pro-Biden warriors, fun as it might be. I have so much trouble getting people to move in the direction of pragmatism in this space. They think it's cuckoldry.
Yeah, I mean that's why I'm very much advocating for the idea of like needs-based communication, where it's difficult to kind of sway people that are a lot more like more extreme left leaning, like the Bernie or bust crowd, and it's difficult because it's so entrenched in certain political beliefs, and those political beliefs are attached to certain figures online, and there is like a maybe not necessarily a cult of personality, but like these people will not change their positions at all, and I think like it's less it's less exciting and less you're gonna have less engagement, but talking about things in terms of like what needs to be done in like 2024, for example. There's that document or that whatever the hell that was that I don't know if it was the Republicans exactly, but some sort of organization about their kind of plans, like
2025.
Yeah, like that's I think I would argue almost everybody on the left, unless you're like a accelerationist or something, like your needs are not going to be met by kind of doing this Bernie or bust sort of like that should be a rallying kind of thing that everyone could point towards, regardless of your leftist leanings. I would think, and I think like approaching things from that angle, and then we can talk about okay, well, what's something that is pragmatic and could be achievable right now. I mean, I'm Canadian, so I don't have great insight into U.S. politics.
Didn't warn me beforehand. My God.
There's a little trigger warning right there. So
Jesus. As an American engaged in politics, that really is always like it's the getting blindsided by that so often. It's rough for us, you know?
Well, it's rough for us too. You guys are very loud. Even when we want to pay attention to our own politics, it's hard to hear it.
You're saying Americans adversely affect Canadian political discourse and media? You say it ain't so. I ain't heard that before.
It's very tiring. Yeah. But just to finish my point, like I would argue that like a pragmatic thing would be yes, you'd go and vote for Biden, you'd or vote for whoever within reason, but whoever the Democrats put in for now, you're able to like organize, like continue doing your more like radical reformations and stuff. But that's like an immediate thing that probably needs to be addressed. And I think that the only way that communication can happen online is in terms of like needs-based discourse, and that kind of getting rid of that scarcity mentality that I think leads to just a lot of people trying to get their own engagement and dunking on other people and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I contribute to this to an extent. I want to fight with people less. I've gotten pretty defensive over the years because I'm sure you've heard rumors. I have a slightly contentious reputation that usually poisons the well long before I actually talk to a person directly. Meaning that there's usually a presumption of mutual hostility, which is in many cases projected by me, and it's one of those self-fulfilling prophecies, right? Like if you come at everything like it's a conflict waiting to happen, then it will be. That's guaranteed now. So that's not great. I'd like to move past that. I mean, there's a lot of good work to be done, despite a lot of doomerism that's been circling around right now. I actually think we're poised pretty well for a victory in 2024. And the direction the Biden admin has taken with regards to unionization, this is like more of an America-specific thing. But let's be real here. A defeat of conservatives in America is a defeat for conservatives everywhere, right? We are like the focal point for all politics, basically. Like it's international in its consequences. So I think we're well positioned. I would like the left to be in a position where they're able to kind of culturally take advantage of positive movement, not isolate themselves from mechanisms of power, but rather be in place to take credit for good things that happen. But I don't know. I feel like the online left has moved further from that. Like, when was the last time a big leftist YouTuber came up and up? BreadTube isn't really a thing anymore. And there are big lefty YouTubers, but like a fresh one, Adam something got big after me. I mean, I know he watched my content before something, and he's quite large, but I don't know. I wonder if this is all getting folded into like the TikTok space, or maybe if there's just less of a market for being lefty and more of a market for either being sort of politically disaffected populist or just being like a social democrat who likes Biden. I don't know where people go from here.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's maybe a little bit of apathy or confusion, which is, I think that's what I'm trying to focus on. Yeah, and I mean, that's what I'm trying to focus on. It goes back to, I think, that seriality where it's a lot of people working generally towards kind of the same thing, but not really, and not enough organization. But I just wanted to go back to when you were talking about like your interactions online, and especially like the emails we had. You mentioned some regret in your tone because a lot of your activity online is inherently antagonistic or unfriendly, and it was somewhat of a surprise. And that made me, I felt kind of bad because I would say most of my interactions online are pretty positive. I'm in a different space. And I would just like to, if you could elaborate on that observation, like a little bit, and just your experience with that.
With what specifically?
With negative, like the kind of vitriolic or negative
Oh yeah, sorry.
interactions online. Yeah.
Momentary brain blip. Yeah, I think that a lot of people on the left kind of treat this space online as a social space primarily. So if you don't like a person interpersonally, the political advocacy kind of dies there. Infighting and drama is everywhere. I mean, with the ousting of Kevin McCarthy just a couple of days ago, it's pretty clear that even at the highest levels of power, the Republicans aren't immune to it. But I think that a lot of it in our space has to do with that social space conflation. The idea that I might be personally unsavorable and therefore not a worthwhile political ally. Something that I don't believe. There are lots of people on the left who I consider to be personally distasteful, but I'm still willing to work with them on some shared marginal goal or interest. Like there's something of value to push for there. And that's not always fun or cool or whatever, but it is how we win. And in the absence of that shared assumption, I guess, it feels like the lunch table politics assumption is also self-fulfilling, where if you see everyone operating on the assumption that it's really just whether or not you personally like or dislike someone, you fight, you bicker, you disengage, whatever, that's the whole name of the game, it kind of guarantees that it's always going to play out that way, which is unfortunate. I feel like I should make an effort to move away from that, but I don't know what deliberate actions I could take to do so. Because you can't just start reaching out to people and be like, oh, I know that there was a previous assumption of mutual antagonism, but I'm now happy to work with your audience. And I'm talking to somebody who doesn't even do any kind of outreach, so there's not even like a mechanism by which that could happen. It feels like a virtue signal,
Yeah, no, I mean, I think this is a good step because this was like maybe an initially antagonistic interaction online that I don't think is like developed into anything worse. So I do think people in general, they can, if they're good faith, it'll be exposed that they're bad faith if you actually have a genuine discussion with them, or maybe you guys can reach some sort of consensus. And I was curious because you said, like in the email also, it's your audience tends to like send content that looks like that, video essays that are like dunking on debate bros, kind of like the optics of it was especially like, that's what that video looked like. Do you like how do you feel about like your kind of audience's expectations in terms of how you engage with the content that you're reacting to?
I mean, there have been plenty of cases where people clearly want me to just tear into a video and I just ignore it. I try not to let the audience's expectations taint my perception too much. I mean, obviously, it's not completely avoidable. We're all social creatures. No man is an island, blah, blah. But I try not, I try to like internally correct for that to the best of my abilities. Obviously, even if my decision making is like purely self-controlled, like even if I'm fully on the ball when it comes to what I believe and how I handle what I believe and all that crap, there's still the problem that like there's a selection bias in the content that's actually shown to me, right? Where the audience will still like maybe disproportionately show me certain types of content. A good example of this is black separatists. I think that a big problem that we have in the left is that we're very unwilling to acknowledge or deal with reactionary thought when it comes from minorities. This isn't a big problem in the sense of like anti-white racism is equal to anti-black racism, whatever, some stupid horseshit like that. It's nothing like that. It's just a failure in our consistency and our ability to think through these problems. And as we can see in some cases, it really bites us back because you have people like, was it Nick Cannon or Kanye, who says stuff that initially gets picked up by a lot of people, especially black people, who are like, oh, well, this is actually like super based or whatever. And then it goes down a little while, like it runs down the road a little bit. and then it's like, oh, holy shit, wait, this was actually just like fascist ideology, like masquerading as left-leaning because it was coming from a member of a minority group, until it reaches a point of obviousness where like no one can ignore it. So I think that's an issue. It's not the biggest issue that we face, not even close, but because it's an issue and it's something that other people tend not to go over, people would throw me a lot of videos being like, hey, here's like a black lefty who's saying some shit that's pretty obviously anti-white. And I look at the video and like, it is? But if you look at 5 or 6 videos of that, congrats, now your channel is the like anti-white racism patrol watch channel, or it's like there's like a million other problems that are way more impactful and meaningful. And you look at those and it's like, well, you know, but I have this like backlog of this very specific issue that people want me to go over. So that's also something that you really have to work through. That was a big thing with misandry as well. Like, how much systemic sexism do men face? Very, very little, I feel. Interpersonally, some, maybe, but like, it's not really comparable. But a lot of the sexist shit that you hear against men from left-leaning women is basically just turf rhetoric that's very slightly disguised. You hear a lot of stuff about like the innate brutish violence that men pose, and a lot of these people end up becoming turfs down the line. It's like, well, how could we have seen this coming? Well, of course they did, because all of their rhetoric was like insanely essentialist from the get-go. It was like there was always a warning sign. So anyway, yeah, what I'm rambling about here, I guess, is the importance of like responsibly cultivating content from the get-go, even if you feel your positions are consistent. The extent to which you commit to a given topic says a lot.
Yeah, no, I was going to actually ask you about that. Like, do you feel like your like what you react to in terms of these kind of niche, kind of novel, but, you know, potentially radical or threatening like topics? Do you think it's like proportionate to the actual threat of them? Do you think that maybe the best thing to do is to like you could still cover them, but then like, you know, make sure, for example, if you had like a black separatist on, you gave that a lot of attention. I mean, because that is a very like it'll drive a lot of engagement. It's a very like specific issue or topic that a lot of people aren't really like talking about.
And it's scandalous, and it's like, you know, it doesn't get discussed that much, and it blows out. And then like other people, like well-meaning lefties, will be like, wow, how dare you criticize this black woman in this position or whatever. And then it's like, now it's a whole thing. I do think it's a real weakness in our thinking. We have to be vigilant for reactionary thought no matter where it comes from. But again, it's always like a disproportionate focus thing, right? Because it's like the Gamergators. Like, were you around on the internet back in like 2014 or whatever?
I mean, like, yeah, loosely, like I didn't really follow any of that, but I'm kind of aware of it.
That's good. Yeah, you would have, so there were some people on that side of things where they would like, how do I say, there were some female YouTubers at the time who were just kind of doing shitty anti-male sexism. They were marginal and they weren't that loud. Like, they weren't loud at all. Their channels were quite small. But what these Gamergator channels would do is they would hyper fixate on them. You'd have channels with 500,000 subs going after channels with 10K subs, being like, this is the problem with modern feminism or whatever, and just go on and on. And it doesn't matter how right you are in a given criticism, because a component of correctness is the implied severity of another person's incorrectness. And an overfixation on a minor problem can be just as dishonest as an initially wrong take to begin with. Certainly with regards to like social harm, you know? Getting 500,000 people to believe that there's some legitimate threat of feminazis destroying masculinity forever, even if it's framed through a criticism of a definitely wrong YouTuber, even if the criticisms are correct, you know? That's more socially harmful than the initial misinformation was.
Do you think in terms of like kind of, as you said, responsibly cultivating content, if you were to give attention to kind of like a sort of radical reactionary you know, people that they belong to a specific minority group, then a sort of responsible constructive thing to do in terms of proportion would then to be really try to then cover like other, you know, minorities or something like that that you kind of agree with their positions. They're not like radical, and you know, I don't know how I would give a specific example, but you know, still platforming kind of like a specific like black issues, for example. that are really important to be like, okay, guys, I don't agree with this. Like, this is something that is, it could be harmful. And we've given enough attention to this, and now we could kind of talk about something more constructive. So it's not just kind of a deconstruction of like something kind of radical niche. It could potentially grow into something worse, but like overall, it's not maybe proportionate.
Yeah, I don't want to do the thing where it's like, now that we've criticized this bad black person, let's bring on a good black or whatever. Let's balance it out. Like, here, we
Yeah,
took this
I
guy.
mean in terms of covering issues,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
specifically
In the
using people.
broader discourse, I think a good initial thing to hit it with is never frame it as like the left going too far. When something like crops up in that line, or I have a disagreement with what I consider to be reactionary ideology, I never frame it as or think of it as like the left has gone too far. I frame it as like, well, this is reactionary ideology. And I think that difference is critical, because if you frame it in that way, you don't run the risk of having a group of audience members who think that I'm like one of the good lefties by being willing to, quote, call out that bullshit on their side. There's always a big risk, and you're in trouble when this happens, which is when, like, if you correctly criticize a person on the left and then you see a bunch of conservatives being like, based, you got him. And it's like, whoa, fuck you, you're worse, get away from me. So a good way to avoid that is to like not frame it as internal fighting or like infighting or whatever, but rather as like an identification of these tendencies. But you also have to compensate by appropriately framing these issues. So like, for example, somebody in chat just pointed out, I had a much discussed disagreement with a black woman on the treatment of white South Africans, which has been litigated endlessly in the years since. But after that conversation, I talked with a land back activist, an indigenous woman, and we had a really good conversation. And I think that to a lot of the people in my audience gave them like a pretty positive impression of what the politics at least potentially are, like what they can be in good framing.
Well, yeah, no, I mean that specifically addressed, I guess, what I was more abstractly talking about. So that's yeah, that's it. I mean, it sounds like you have been responsibly cultivating your content. I guess I'm wondering what was the sort of like frame of mind when you were more like entrenched in a lot of interpersonal drama and interpersonal conflict with people? Was there like an apparent change or shift in your attitude towards the sort of needs and intentions you have behind your platform?
Yeah, I thought that initially I could do this like super ultra rational, like I will pull the left in the correct direction, and I will, like the woke scolds or whatever, like I will outdo them, I will show the superiority of my beliefs, blah blah blah. And I thought that but of course it doesn't work that way. The deliberately antagonistic engagement actually pulls people away more than it does towards me, and you end up getting a lot of audience members who come away with a negative impression of the left broadly, which I do not want. Even if I, as a proper good leftist, think that the left is full of idiots, and sickos. Like, obviously, all good leftists believe this about their own side. That's not like the outward impression that I want to get. Like, infighting should not be door number one, to getting involved in left matters. That should be something that you partake in like a fine wine when you're already well associated with the left. You have to get off on the correct foot, from the get-go. And now I guess, I mean, I still get into fighting a lot. I try not to engage with it as much. Like, there's a lot of left YouTubers who dislike me. It's basically just a list of all left YouTubers. And I try not to exacerbate negative discourse or whatever. I guess I kind of privately hope that one day they'll be open to talking, and maybe it can be one of those, we don't have to like each other, but maybe we could like do an audience drive or something. But if that's ever going to happen, it's going to take a while, because there's a lot of bad blood there.
How does that just, I mean, maybe it's a bit more of a personal question, but how does that like feel on like an emotional level when you feel like you're like engaged politically in a responsible way, and a lot of people are antagonistic towards you, and I mean, do you feel like you're not being treated fairly, or you're being misrepresented or misunderstood?
Yeah, it's pretty frustrating, but I try not to complain about it too much, because for the most part, like realistically speaking, this career, as much as it carries frustration, has catapulted me to a degree of success that I would never have dreamed of when I graduated with my sociology degree. So, as frustrating as it is, like keeping things in perspective, you know, it's okay. Like the suffering is balanced out well with a lot of love and positive favors and YouTube AdSense revenue. So I don't want to be super doomer about it. I do think that like it is very frustrating to be misunderstood. And every once in a while I get these like very jarring experiences where I'll see somebody out in the wild, like on Twitter or whatever, who dislikes me, and they will dislike me with a passion that I reserve for the love I feel for a partner. You know, like their hatred towards me exceeds the feelings that I have towards most anything in my life. I don't understand their passion. And in addition to the passion, like they have no fucking clue what's going on. Like they don't know, like they'll like talk about drama, but they'll misrepresent it. Like they'll factually not get critical elements of it correctly. You know what I mean? Like it seems like they feel very strongly about something they have very scant knowledge of. And when I think of like, well, how do I feel about that? I don't know. I think that in a lot of cases, and I don't want to sound like patronizing when I say this, but I really do believe it. In a lot of cases, I think I feel a little bit bad for them, maybe, because a lot of them seem to be, if we're talking tendencies here, a lot of them are young. A lot of them are very politically disaffected. They feel helpless and powerless. A lot of them are probably much worse off than I am, economically and socially. And they direct their powerlessness towards a small online social space where they can feel like an insider by sharing the opinions of others on social issues, like their opinions towards me. And again, like I don't want to like patronize or whatever, but I do think that really sucks. And I guess I just hope that through me or through some other mechanism, they're able to engage with this stuff in a more healthy way. Like if they could phone bank or canvas or something with a quarter of the passion they have towards disliking me, not only would they get more done like in a real politics sense, but I feel like it'd be a lot better for them emotionally. That's all I want.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the essence of the video I made, was that there's an insane amount of passion and emotion and attention that goes into the interpersonal bickering, I guess. And I mean, you know, there are genuinely serious things that also happen in these spaces. There's like, you know, genuine harassment and assaults and, you know, stuff like that. And it's not to minimize it, but it is like if everybody is honestly like a good faith actor and they do care about kind of certain main goals in leftist politics, I would hope that they could somehow channel that energy or passion into constructive dialogue at the very least, and also hopefully like actual political action.
Oh yeah, for sure. And again, it would do a lot better. It would do a lot better for them as well. It's something I'd like to put to rest, ideally. Obviously, it's not really possible because if you dislike a person, then everything they have to say gets framed in a negative light. Like if I say, "Oh, I'd like to put all this to bed and get along with people," or like, you know, I may feel wronged by this disagreement, but that doesn't matter. We're going to work together on this." For a lot of people, it's like, he is snakishly trying to avoid culpability for his crimes by presenting a front of positivity. It's like, you know, there's no winning with those presumptions on hand. People will kind of go with it no matter what. So I guess in the meantime, I'm gonna try to instigate that a little less or be a little bit less participatory with it, and try to focus on being a better example. I think that's ultimately like the way you have to be, right? It's about being a good example. I have a lot of respect for some YouTubers who I know for a fact dislike me but never talk about it, because I feel like, I mean, there must be some clout in speaking negatively about me, but they have to like, I feel like they're biting their tongue because they want to like focus on being the better example. Like they don't want their engagement online to be defined through antagonism, even if they don't really care for me. And I respect the hell out of that. Not just like in a, oh, thanks for not bothering me kind of way, but also in like you know, that's that's a lot of restraint. You know, that's a lot of like clout you're potentially leaving on the table for what? You know? Well, I guess for like principle, that's pretty cool. You know? So I guess I'll try to do that a little.
Yeah, like I guess like do you feel like there are certain things that are holding you back from kind of reaching out to people or trying to repair bridges.
Well, a lot of them
Yeah,
have
like
me
like
blocked, so that's definitely
okay, so there's literal barriers in some way. But for the people that don't have you blocked, I guess.
Oh, I think it's just about giving people good headlines to latch onto, right? I used to do charity streams more often. I want to get back into that. Like I raised like 300K for Palestinian children. Um, and I saw there were people online where it's like, oh, well, maybe you hate the guy, but you got to give him credit for that. Pretty difficult to hate a person off of a headline like that. And then that's kind of like an opening line. You know what I mean? Where you can be like, okay, well, despite our many personal disagreements, or despite like this or that, the other, clearly there's something we care about together. We don't like Gaza being bombed into fucking dust. So let's put a pin in this. Maybe we hate each other, sure, but can we work together on, I don't know, raising funds for crap like this, or at least indicating we're willing to do stuff like that? And if you can, then that's kind of the problem fixed, right? Because you don't need to be friends with people. You just need to be able to work together for shared political expediency.
Do you feel like it's the kind of expectations of headlines, or what like your audience will say, what other people's audience will say, what other creators will say, that maybe leads to some hesitation in reaching out? Or is it just a kind of you are actively reaching out, like you're willing to actually like repair some relationships?
Yeah, sure. Well, there's certainly a few people that I can think of in the left space that I would rather be on positive terms with. Contra, for example, I feel like her dislike of me came out of fucking nowhere, but that's how it is. Um, the ability to potentially mobilize these spaces in a way that they're not currently is very valuable politically. I mean, forming some kind of unified block would be worth, I guess, reaching out or trying to engage. Um, though for a lot of people, you also don't want to engage, because I think some of the mutual dislike is very warranted. Like there are some people who like it's kind of like a time and attention sink. You really don't want to put a bunch of effort in trying to get along with them, because in reality they're sort of just not great people. And it's always tough to know where that line is too. A lot of people would say that about me, which probably fuels the presumption they shouldn't engage with me either. Um, so yeah, I don't know. Coalition building is really it's really fucking difficult. But I guess I'll try to do some more positive stuff. I mean, we're coming in like a year before the election, which means it's time for more fundraising, it's time for more phone banking, it's time for more canvassing and donations and stuff. And the more aggressively I push for stuff like that, I think the easier it is for people to see the sort of marginal value in working together, at least so we don't all get killed in death camps uh, by the Republicans. That's a
Right.
thing I don't want to happen personally.
hmm just to go back, like when you mentioned Contra, for example, I don't really know much about the drama, but it's interesting. Like you said, it came out of nowhere, like her antagonism towards you. Do you feel like it's like a if it's a misunderstanding, or just kind of a random kind of just vitriolic treatment of you? Like, do you think that would warrant, at least if you want that relationship to be maintained or repaired, like it seems reasonable to just like reach out if it just seems like it was a random kind of I don't know if you had before, but something like that, because I think for them at least, it might be difficult to want to repair relationships if it doesn't seem like the other party is um, supportive of even like trying to understand why there was some antagonism. Like if they're what they're saying is just, oh, I don't, it came out of nowhere why they disliked me. I mean, maybe it did. I don't know the exact situation.
Yeah, in that case specifically, I think it was like a friend of a friend kind of deal, because she had a friend who attacked me and then sexually harassed me on Twitter, and then I argued with her, and then Contra took the side of her friend. There's it's very difficult to like break those lines as well, because if you have, it's like if there's one person who dislikes you is like one thing, but if you have like a network of sort of loosely connected friends, or at least like business partners or people who are in a shared space who dislike you, it's really difficult to like where do you put a foot in on that? You know what I mean? Like where, like at what point do you step in, or like what's like the wedge issue that you can try to get some positivity going on in there? There are a few people who won't talk to me publicly, but who do talk to me privately, which I also respect, you know, because maybe there's like it's unviable to engage in a public forum, but you can still indicate some degree of solidarity or shared consideration in private. I think it really is like a case by case basis. Yeah, I don't know how I would handle it like on principle. I don't know if I have like a general strategy. Um, so I guess I would just have to handle it with people individually. Be nice to get along. I went to VidCon recently, and Contra was doing a panel there. I didn't show up because I had a feeling my presence there would be interpreted as like mean mugging or whatever. Like you know, like I am here, I am watching you, or some like psychotic Gamergate tier shit like that. When in reality, I just would have wanted to go to the panel. Um,
So
so
like there, for example, like do you feel like it's expectations of how other people perceive you that kind of limits like your own needs, like which is like maybe to bridge this relationship or something like that.
a lot of people do think that my audience is like psychotically like super vitriolic and harassing and doxing or whatever, which is just silly. My audience is full of gay trans weirdos, which is sort of uh picture perfect representation of the online left broadly as an aggregate, the median online lefty. Um, fine people. So if people like perceive some initial threat, obviously it'll increase the likelihood that they're like initially defensive or won't want to get engaged. Or people will think, oh, well, he's being nice now, but if ever anything negative happens with him, he'll turn the dogs on me, and then like it'll be 6 months of protracted drama. So it's, there are institutional and social barriers. I understand why they exist. I don't necessarily fault people who dislike me for their existence. It's just a slow process of unwinding a few knots.
Hmm. Yeah, and I guess it would be just initially uncomfortable no matter what, because there are going to be lots of people that are going to say whatever, they're going to have certain sort of expectations about your actions. But like I would hope that if like you're acting in good faith, you want to repair the relationship, that eventually that would kind of dissipate. And like I do think that there is just a general like the might not work with the limitations of this platform, but there is a general kind of guiding principle when it comes to repairing relationships, which is like listening to people, and not in the form of like video essay and then a reaction to a video essay and then, but just like actually talking, or some sort of genuine like live discourse. And it doesn't need to be monetized or anything like that. Like I do think in general in any relationship, I'm not a huge fan of this, and I'm seeing it more, especially on the left online, is just like, I will not talk to this person at all. I will not. This person is like literally like a demonic or evil in some way, and it's like they've said this without actually attempting to engage in any sort of dialogue with them to begin with, which I feel is like you're going to get a raw and hopefully honest dialogue if both parties are being like like honest about what they're doing. But I feel like it's most of these interactions are people pointing out the perceived wrongness of the other person and how they're complicit in injustice, and they're not talking about specifically how they feel about this, and the other person's not actually like listening, I think.
No, yeah, for sure. I agree. I think like there has to be like a very strong or specific or well demonstrated reason to just not want to talk to someone like at all. Um the unwillingness to engage with people, even in like okay, well, I have issues with you, but here's this or here's that kind of deal, definitely gets in the way of the coalition building. I wonder how much there is a desire for coalition building to begin with, like on principle, right? Because if there is an overriding desire to treat the online left as a purely social space, that definitely gets in the way of, I guess, the sacrifices that have to be made to coalition build at all, right? Like a person on first principles wouldn't even be pushing for that. Not on first principles, that's not the right use of the term, but they wouldn't even be pushing for that to begin with, because they're just trying to like maintain and cultivate a nice social space. So yeah, I don't know. I don't want to be doomer about it. I actually feel pretty good right now with regards to like the future of doing stuff on the left. I'm just hoping that there's some kind of progress there.
Yeah, and I think any sort of speculation or anticipation in terms of how much people genuinely want to coalition build is kind of not really worth it. Like it's the simple answer is like, well, why don't we just like find out? Like if you honestly want to, if there's certain actors in the space that genuinely want to coalition build, and you are being transparent in your actions and what you're talking about and what you're focused on, that should play out, and your like audience expectations and so forth shouldn't have too much of a say if that's your main goal. If your main goal is to, you know, make a certain amount of money, drive clicks, engagement, like you have to weigh it, because I mean at the end of the day you need to sustain your platform. But it does seem to, at least in my mind, or in my observations, that seems to kind of triumph over any real uh, you know, kind of transparency or just people acting honestly. I don't know if that made sense.
No, it does fully, yeah. And another big difficulty being, of course, that it can be sometimes pretty difficult, I feel, to balance the uh, desire to coalition build with the desire to engage in internal critique. There's a lot of really dumb shit that gets said in the online left, and you know, I feel like it's worthwhile to push back against it sometimes. So doing that while maintaining like a generally positive attitude, you know, that's pretty tough. People take stuff real personal, you know. You don't, clearly. You're willing to talk to me, and I was quite mean to you, which I appreciate very much, by the way. I'd like to believe that if the situation had been perfectly you know, reversed, and you had done as I had done, and so on and so forth, that I would be the same. But you know, I still think it speaks to a strength of character. I do appreciate you talking to me very much.
Yeah, no, I mean, it would have been hypocritical for me to criticize, you know, the deference politics and online drama, and then have some sort of ego regarding how my own content was reacted to. I saw it as more of like a fruitful opportunity to actually talk to other people in this space, and I'm talking to, you know, quite a few different people now, to kind of get a better picture of a discussion that I think is actually really important in online left spaces, which is, you know, to what extent is all of this activity, all of this content creation placating or energizing real political action. And I think this is, you know, at least for me and my platform, that's a really important question to raise. And I think that it is a discourse that is most fruitful when you're talking to other people in the space, and you're not just like a myopic and you know, critiquing from a distance and making video essays from a distance. I think it's like an active dialogue.
No, I fully agree. Yeah, I appreciate you coming on very much, and talking. I feel like I have a therapy dumped. I've trauma dumped at you a little bit. So I
Just
apologize
yeah.
for that, but you know.
No. That's exactly what I wanted. Actually, that's great. And I hope if this discussion in some way encouraged you to at least you know, regardless of expectations, and privately or publicly, to maybe reach out to certain people, or at least attempt to coalition build, despite the possibility that, you know, maybe nobody really wants to coalition build online. I hope that at least, you know, maybe there was some seed planted, I guess, for me, because I would like to see that. Like, you're very articulate, and you know, you have a very effective voice in this space, and you have quite a mobilized audience in a lot of ways, and it would be fruitful, I think, in terms of online left-leaning spaces, if there was some more unity.
No, fully. And there's a remarkable amount that can be done as well. You know, I mean, to speak specifically on the good done with the canvassing folks, the special election that was held in, is it Michigan or Wisconsin? They're the same state in my mind. There was a special election that was held where it's essentially mathematically certain that the contributions of the canvassing group Progressive Victory cinched it. Like, they were the ones that did it. Was Wisconsin? Okay, they say Wisconsin in chat. I always forget. I'll never remember the difference between those two states. Midwest is Midwest. Anyway, you know, there's that business in Georgia. The right has always suffered when it comes to their ground game, because the right's primary voting demographic is like geriatrics, you know? And they also don't believe in like civil society as a concept, really. Conservatives wake up every day and plan which guns they're going to concealed carry on their trip to Walmart because they genuinely believe they're going to get jumped by like Libyan kidnappers the moment they leave the car. These are not people who are very good at doing stuff like canvassing or phone banking for that matter. They don't believe in each other. They're too like psychotically individualist. So, you know, we have an advantage in that game. We have an advantage in you know, fundraising. Like Bernie Sanders managed to make a fuck ton of money off of that. There's so much good we can do. So yeah, I don't know. I'm optimistic towards it, and hopefully in the near future, a chance to demonstrate those chops comes up.
Great. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on. I guess we talked for about an hour, so I'll let you go back to your show, your stream.
The ADHD riddled audience that I peddled in usually keeps things to around an hour before they go for their vapes or whatever. No, stream's over. It's time for me to do the thing I lie to my chat and say I don't, which is play 8 uninterrupted hours of video games while explaining to people that I missed their emails because I was busy with work. It's been a delight having you on.
Yeah.
I hope we can talk again in the future.
You too. Yeah, for sure. All right. Take
You
care. Bye.
Okay, come on. That was pretty nice, huh? I didn't expect any of that. I think that was pretty nice, personally. Yeah, I didn't expect that at all. Perhaps we were too harsh. This is my fault, not yours. I think, like I said, it's a presumption that all engagements are going to be antagonistic guarantees as such. Now, I still maintain, and I do firmly believe this, in essentially every case where a bridge has burned with me and another person on the left, it was their fault, not mine. I really mean that. You can, like, I know it's like one of those look for the pattern kind of deals, but genuinely in like the bit by bit, if you look at the details of these engagements, I genuinely think with a lot of these people, Contra, whatever else, you know, or like everyone says with like Professor Flowers that like, oh well, I did this. I don't know, man. I feel like it was actually just a 3-hour convo of me being really nice and also like incredulously asking, so you really don't think it would be fucked up to deport 6 million white South Africans? And she's like, well, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I feel I don't think I caused this, but I will say this much. If Sisyphus had never wanted to talk to me, or if there had been some kind of like mutual antagonism that had persisted after this as a product of me watching his video, that would have been my fault, right? Because his video, even though I take issue with parts of it, his video would have been earnest and well-intended, and I would have like watched it real fucking aggro, like, you know, like, oh, another one of these videos, you know. And then like if he didn't want to talk to me, in my mind it'd be like, oh well, there's another connection that I don't have. But that would have been on me. That would have been a me thing. Even if I disagree with the video, that's not an excuse to like, you know, justify limitless antagonism or like fuck up any personal engagement or whatever. So that's on me. I wanna go back to being a bit of a positive example. This fits back into the idea, the big pants arc. Big pants, you know, I gotta get better about that. There we go. You forgot to ask him about the lesbian flag? Oh, I just don't care. Are you gonna do emails? I did emails before stream. How many do I have right now? I have 6 unread emails, one of which is from Sisyphus. I mean, okay, the Sisyphus one was about getting my Discord, so now 5 unread emails. There's an important email you should look at. There's always an important email I should look at. Tequila Sunset, I get what you're pulling for, and it just ain't gonna happen, okay? I'm technically waiting for a response. I really try to, but I can't respond to every email anymore. I'm really sorry. I get a lot of emails. I try to keep them clean. You ever going to debate Jesse Singal? I feel like that plan kind of got lost. Yeah, that's one of the unread emails. Yeah, that one's on me. I did a bunch of research for it too, but then the travel happened. It's just one of those like, remember Dino Man or the Radical Dino Now? That was like 2 years in waiting. So yeah, it's not going to be 2 years, but yeah, I'm just bad about like, yeah. I have to say, it's so tempting to like rip into this because I know for every minute I mention him, it turns into an hour of content on his stream. But like for the people with like, oh, you shouldn't say this or that about Destiny, whatever. Just so you guys understand, okay? All the other people in the like broader online space of all the like lefties or all these other people that I can think of, there is no one who comes even close to the amount of perceived jackassery to me as he does in my memory. So when you think like, oh, this is a perfect opportunity for no, any other person would come up before that. I demonstrated what I consider to be a fair degree of maturity by, even though this guy, he calls for my death, he was saying people should hack my website, he's all this nasty shit, nasty. I hear people say, oh, Vosh, you're terrible, you say this thing. And then I just remember in my head, he said like 20 things 20 times worse. And I think, okay, but I still go over to DC and I shake hands and it's all good. And that's fine. That's political, that's coalition building. Like that is, there are people who share workplaces who hate each other and they still have to do work together. I go over there. People think this means I like him. I don't, and I probably never will. But I do love Biden. And I'm willing to do a lot of work in that line. He goes to VidCon. He says, oh, the left, they purity test. They can't make friends. They don't coalition build. Then he comes back. And because of 2 minutes of me on stream, he makes an hour drama video saying he wants to like leave Progressive Victory or do some other thing or whatever. No. It's all drama bullshit. It's all attention farming. That's all it is. I've demonstrated a significant degree of conciliatory coalition building engagement on my part. And for him, it's all this, that. The only thing that is asked of me, the only thing he wants or his community wants is for me to pay more attention. And I just won't. I'm sorry. So you can keep talking about it in chat, but your, fresh news. Did you know Destiny's obsessing over you? I did. And I always have. Don't remind me so much you catch a ban. I know it's an internal fact of life. It's a state of the world kind of deal, It is, I think, to the detriment of your cause that when you hear about stuff like lefty coalition building, that's what you run to, though. Don't be gaslit. No, I won't. No, like off the top, and they're always like, well, why don't you have a manifesto that you can point to? That's how engagements work online. It's mutual manifestos. No. Again, the last thing I saw on stream was Destiny sincerely saying he wished I was dead because I joked about how he's spite driven. To be clear, I didn't joke that he's spite driven. He is. I made a joke about the fact that he is. And he quite sincerely said that he wished I was dead. Genuinely, I will not be gaslit into believing that there's some kind of like mutual, I need to put anything aside to like build a bridge when he's the one who says the worst things, has the worst community, behaves the worst, and threatens to leave PV. Like, no, come on. You guys really do a disservice to yourself and to, I guess, the concept of coalition building by engaging with this. So no more of it. Yes, he defeated my argument that he's spite driven by seething and clenching his teeth and saying that he wished I was dead. The clear defeater. He did the same thing to DM. No, yeah, sure. Also, he should bring back his blue hair. All right. Let me read these donos, then kill it. Bosch, dude, you see him as the tankies and woke scolds see you. Don't you see the irony? Don't you see how a talk could go a long way? See, this is what I mean by like the disingenuous. You just made this account and your first message was about like it's so transparent, you know? It's like so-called psychic readers trying to cold read you or whatever. Like, what's the in that I can do to get more content? It's so weird. Yeah, it's extremely weird, yeah. There will be another hour-long video now. Actually, this one would have to be 3 hours because I talked about it for like 3 minutes, I think. Anyway, let's finish these donos, huh? By which I mean start these donos. Darn Tundra, thank you for the $3. Good luck with your Subnautica challenge run. Scooter, thank you for the $5. Yes, I did. TriStar, thank you for the tier 1 sub. Really appreciate that. Still Alive and Shaky09, thanks to 5 both. Is there anything Biden can do optics-wise? There are a lot of things he could do optics-wise. I've talked about that in the past, though I don't think bragging about the economy would be a good thing to do. I think that's the Bidenomics thing has been pretty stupid, I think. It's not a good hit. Sheem T, thanks the $2. Mr. Tarky AK47, thank you for the €1. Benjamin Gilbert Lift, thank you for the $5. Really appreciate that. Bet, thank you for the 55 TRY. Really appreciate that. I'll take a look. Jesus Beater, thank you for the $5. Happy 1-year anniversary to the time I fainted in class and then started watching your stream when I woke up from the hospital. Hey! Nothing better for getting your brain juices properly sloshed around right after an injury or sickness, you know? It's like what's that shit they make you sniff to wake up real fast? They do it to football players so they don't get like into a coma. What am I thinking of? Smelling salts. Yeah, it's like smelling salts for your mind. Exactly. Jesus Christ, those nails. I do not understand how people do shit with their big pointy nails. But, you know, they do. People do secretarial work with that shit. Be astounded, thanks to tier 2 sub. Sorry that you're a 5G Wi-Fi vaccine zombie now, friend. Bosch is such a slimy fuck. Just engage with the criticism of the shit you said, man. You can't feel like a good person with this kind of cult that blandly accept everything you say. Notice how, again, the central criticism levied by everyone who makes an account within the past 24 hours to complain about not spending enough time with Destiny is they just want more content. It's not a politics channel. It's a drama channel with a political theme. So the main thing they want is just, you know, interminable content. Engage with this so he can rebut, so you can rebut, forever and ever, nonstop content, 24/7 content, 50,000 years of content. That's what they want, really. A lot of them, I don't even think they like care if Destiny comes off well. Like most of them do, of course, but I think a lot of them just want to see the drama. It's the chaos ticket, you know? There are a bunch of people who will simultaneously hate me, but also think it's funny that I shook his hand or whatever. It's not like it's like it's just like empty shit. It's just empty. It's kayfabe. It's wrestling. Teletech, thank you for the tier 2 sub. Really appreciate that. You made me more aware of my mental health, and as soon as I turned 18, I got evaluated for ADHD, and now I'm going to receive treatment for it and depression, TY Vosh. Nice! Well done. I hope you're able to get what you need. I didn't get diagnosed with ADHD until quite a bit past 18. So I'm glad you were able to get the help you needed. Do you think the people at Progressive Victory IRL, the Destiny Weirdos, were wait? Do you think the people at PV IRL, the Destiny Weirdos, were bad and trying to be? You mean the people from Destiny's community that I met in person? No, every single one of them was lovely. That's why usually it's mostly, I think it's the subreddit's like the worst wing of this community. The people I met in person were, to a man, pleasant to speak to. If any of them were quietly seething about me, they did it away from me because I did not see or engage with it. But I tried my best to shake hands with everyone. To be fair, your subreddit's also ass. Oh, to be sure, though for very, very different reasons. Extremely different reasons. But it's a nihilistic black hole of content that exists for no reason other than self-perpetuation. It doesn't align with reality, my values, or political expediency. Their demands for incessant engagement just won't track. If he doesn't want to do work with PV, that's unfortunate. But if he, you know, hopefully he still does canvassing in his own capacity. Coffee Lover, thank you for the $5. Really appreciate that. K Comrade Robin Hood, yes, we'll talk about Ukraine stuff and Russia stuff next stream for sure. Hell Spawn Lord, thank you for the $5. I'd like to say you've restored my faith in the left. That's very nice of you and probably undeserved. Thank you. Benjamin Gilbert Lift, thank you for the $5. Yeah, her reaction to the audience laughing when she asked who wouldn't want Elon for a boss was incredibly funny. Chicken Warrior, thank you for the $10. Musk is the perfect example of why billionaires should be taxed out of existence. Also, have you heard the FCC bringing net neutrality back? Yes, I did hear that. Yes. Yeah, they really should. No, I didn't even talk about the nuclear leaks. There was a lot of stuff I wanted to talk about this stream. Sorry, we'll talk about it next stream. I love you. Et Zabo, thank you for the $5. Really appreciate that. Watching your stream from an Aero Commander 500B at 13,000 feet in northern Idaho. Your streams are the best and help me stay up to date in current politics. How the fuck do you get signal up there? Do you have like a Wi-Fi receiver up at fucking 13,000 feet? Huh. Cool. Sorry, I got distracted by how hungry I was. Prairie Fire, thank you for the $2. So noted. Benjamin Gilbert Lift, thank you for the $10. Under the Vital Act, Congress gave the president the authority to use March-in rights to set drug price. I'm not entirely sure what you linked here. Bide? What is this? I don't know what you've linked here. I don't know what this refers to. Could look into it, though. God damn it, give me a sec. Ben, let me end stream. Dead Raccoon, thank you for the tier 1 sub. Sake, thanks for the 5 tier 1 subs. Bosch, the GOP has already linked Biden to inflation by posting pictures of his son's hawk, which they're jealous of. Yeah, that's true. Biden's hawk, or yeah, Hunter Biden's hawk does love to inflate. That is true. Sake at the 5 tier 1 subs. To be fair, you're just a 40K lore channel with occasional stints into politics and media. True! Very true. With the additional 5 tier 1 subs, watching this stream at altitude is how you get really high with Vosh. Also true. And the only way you're going to, because I don't like weed. Okay, Comrade Robin Hood, thank you for the $5. Really appreciate that. I don't know if Biden necessarily greenlights Turkish airstrikes in Rojava. Hasn't there been disagreement over that? Yes, I disagree with the State Department's stance on the Azeri ethnic cleansing of Armenians, for sure. Scooter with the $5. Erudite personally introduced me to Destiny after the meet and greet. She seemed cool IRL. Is she cool? Erudite was only nice to me. Well, technically, it's not so erudite, actually. We shouldn't say erudite. No, not so erudite was nothing but nice to me and fun to talk to. So, again, I love my positive in-person experiences. You know, I'll take them as much as I can. Soy Milk Tea, thank you for the 5. Look at my new scaly baby. Her name is Pretzel Codal. Love that. She's a super dwarf reticulated python, my bucket list snake. Aw. Bucket. Beep, beep. Bucket snake. Beep, beep. It's a very good name, yeah. All right, folks. Tomorrow is Saturday, so I don't think I'll be streaming tomorrow. But I will be streaming Sunday. Yes, Dylan Burns is live. Maybe we'll throw a host over because we didn't get to the Ukraine-Russia topics or any foreign policy stuff, as a matter of fact. Yeah, I am going to throw you guys over to Dylan Burns. I love you all very much. You're beautiful people. You're delightful. I revel in your presence. It's so good. I'll see you guys soon. And in the meantime, be good. Big Pants Arc. Big Pants Arc. Do I want to commit to that? I kind of like how it sounds. Big Pants Arc. I want to wear the big pants. What's the big pants arc? We'll figure out the details later. New pants arc? No, big pants. It has to be big pants. All right, take care.